Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Bridgewater
We're not
Conservation.
at 5:30 yet, Wendy.
Oh, but you put the thing on. Stop it and
I'm multitasking.
stop that recording. Re-record.
Count down a minute.
All right, are we ready to go? Okay. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Bridgewater Conservation Commission meeting. It is November 14th, 2024. We do have a quorum, so we'll open the meeting. The time is now 5:30 p.m. For the record, the members and staff present are Marilyn McDonald, Eileen Prisco, Harry Bailey, Mark Peterson, Bob Rulli, the Director of Community and Economic Development, is in for Caitlin Putt, who is not able to be here tonight, and myself, Wendy Smith. I'll now read the governor's order for online meetings into the record. Disclosure pursuant to Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. This meeting of the Conservation Commission for the town of Bridgewater will be hybrid and accessible to the public through remote participation to the greatest extent possible. There will be no public attendance permitted. Citizens who wish to tune in to the meeting may do so via Zoom. The link is always located on the bridgewaterma.org website. And the phone number is there also. So just to go through real quick, we'll have a call to order. We'll have public hearings, old business, notice of intent, 0 Lakeshore Center, map 83, lot 85. And it's listed under old business, but it's actually new business. A notice of intent for 0 Bedford Street, map 75, lot 57. A request for determination of applicability for 333 Water Street. A notice of intent for 25 Stony Brook. A request for determination of applicability for 233 Broad Street. And then we have some administrative items under Conservation Commission business. We have a certificate of compliance for 365 Elm, a certificate of compliance for 100 Norland Park, certificate of compliance for 900 Bedford Street. And then we have Lakeshore cease and desist. We have a discussion regarding DOT and not Lakeshore, but the park and ride. 0 Bedford, an enforcement order, Murphy's Landing, conservation restriction, and 0 State Prison Road, Rainbow's End discussion. And then we'll have minutes and adjournment. So with that, we can get started on our old business. So first up is the notice of intent for 0 Lakeshore Center, map 83, lot 85. The applicant representative is Claremont Lakeshore Bridgewater LLC, Silver Engineering Associates PC. The DEP file is SE 116-1525. And I think that to open it, we'll hear from the applicant first to weigh in. We'll hear from Bob and then the peer review from LEC. And we'll go from there.
Madam Chair, may I also weigh in on the opening?
Sure.
Just as we have done in the past, just for everybody that's new to Conservation Commission, welcome to the Conservation Commission. I'm Marilyn McDonald, Vice Chair, and sometimes it's helpful to know how the Bridgewater Conservation Commission works. We are governed by both local and state bylaws of rules and regulations and adhering to performance standards to ensure that any project meets the requirements and has minimal impact to any of our surrounding wetlands. This is the only way we make our decision. It is based on rules and regulations, performance standards, nothing else than basic facts of rules and regulations. But Bridgewater Conservation has a 100-foot jurisdiction of a BVW, bordering vegetated wetlands, and 200 feet of any riverfront. And Bridgewater Conservation does a couple of things. As the chair said, she opens it up. She's going to open it up to the applicant, to the members of the board. We are then open it up to the public, and we encourage the public to, to address things. This is how we pick up things as we're doing our research and our due diligence on finding out the information. Please direct all questions through your chair, Wendy, and she'll figure out the best way to have them answered. We do ask that you keep it to 3 minutes. As normal, I will leave it your 3-minute clock call. I will give you the 2-minute warning, the 1-minute warning, and go from there. Just please keep in mind that 2 things happen on a conservation meeting. We either continue them or we close them. If we close them, that means no new information is submitted. And we either do 2 things. We, like I said, close them or continue them. If we continue it, if we close it, we have 21 days to render our decision. Once the decision is rendered and signed, there is a 10-day business appeal period that gets submitted in writing to Mass DEP. So people know the process of Bridgewater Conservation, and I will send it back to the chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Marilyn. So first we'd like to hear from the applicant. And I think one thing that was discussed in the last meeting that they were going to look into had to do with the wells that are at Lakeshore, irrigation wells, and its effect on any groundwater. So we would like to hear about that.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. My name is Ed Brennan. I'm an attorney at 174 Dean Street in Taunton, and I represent the applicant. As you may recall, and you all recall, the last meeting was continued to tonight for a number of reasons, one of which was to give the neighbors an opportunity to further consider the last report by LEC, the board's peer review environmental engineers, and there was the question raised regarding the well. I'm not aware of any subsequent filings by the neighbors referencing the LEC letter in any way, so I think that letter stands as it was submitted. The issue of the well, we determined that there are 4 wells on the Claremont site. They're seasonal, they're on timers, and the closest one to the stream that we've been discussing is 610 feet, which is on the lot where the industrial distribution building is. The other lots are 1,300 feet, the other wells are 1,300 feet away, 1,000 feet away, and 2,200 feet away. Being seasonal, on timers, and being irrigation wells where the water, substantially all of the water goes back into the ground, we're of the position that it does not have a negative effect on the stream. I would also like to point out that the no flow conditions that were observed in the year 2000 and in the year 2008 are substantially the same as they were in 2024. And those prior reports of the no flow observations were prior to there being 4 wells on the site. I think in 2008, there was only 1 well on the site. So I would say that the irrigation wells have had no negative impact upon the stream. The no flow conditions were substantially the same. So with that said, I think in summary, you have the LEC report from the environmental peer review. You have Howard Stein report for the civil peer review. Howard Stein was responded to by Silver Engineering back in March of 24, and there was no further correspondence. I believe they were satisfied. Excuse me. I believe town engineer, Mr. Tanzi, at the last meeting said he was satisfied with the design. The stormwater management and the plans were updated prior to the last hearing, And you may recall that we did agree to the stream monitoring as set forth in our letter to the commission back in February of 2024. So I think those were the issues that primarily were discussed at the last meeting, in addition to the overall summary that Mr. Manganello from LEC submitted for the board or presented to the board. So I think that's where we stand, Madam Chairperson, and we don't have any further submissions for tonight.
Thank you. So we did have one submission that came in. It was November 12th. However, most of the information that came through was things that had already been discussed. But I can wait, I think, until, I mean, I don't know if now is the time to say it. So there was a concern about the 100-foot buffer and it being an ACEC area. And all I can say to that is I looked up ACEC regs. They have the local people and the bylaws or ordinances is what determines. They don't have any buffer. They don't say anything. So really, it's not riverfront, so it's not 200. We have to do our best to keep it, well, it has to stay outside of the 25-foot. But so that's that was one thing that was brought up. As far as there was tree cutting.
Madam
that was
Chair, I
brought up.
believe Mr. Brennan is referring to whether any third party or any engineer.
Oh, any of that.
reports.
I
Right.
got you. Okay.
Not public comments. Those are all made part of the record.
Okay. All right. I was going to address them, but I can do it later. Okay. So thank you, Mr. Brennan. How about Bob? We're
I
gonna,
didn't know if you wanted to have Mark respond to Mr. Brennan's explanation of the irrigation wells, whether or not he agrees that they're a little impact.
okay, we can do that. Mark?
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Yes, I did have an opportunity to review.
Mark, I know you've done it before, but could you just name and address for the record,
Oh,
please?
yes, thank you.
Oh, sure. I'm Mark Manganello with LEC Environmental Consultants out of Plymouth.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I did have an opportunity to review the location of the wells. I also looked at the underlying geology of the area and the watershed areas associated with the stream in question, as well as the stream to the west, both of which feed the lake. And based on that information, I believe there's a very large aquifer under this entire area. It's a groundwater system that feeds the lake. And it also feeds these streams and supports these streams. So I think that, along with the distance these irrigation wells are located from the actual stream in question, the seasonal use, the limited amount of grass, especially with the industrial building that's nearby, I don't think they significantly affect or cause drawdown in this watershed area associated with the stream in question. Couple other things that I can mention while I have the floor, if I may,
Sure.
that I think are lingering issues. One was whether or not the commission can issue an order of conditions or close the public hearing during the MIPA process, before the MIPA process is concluded. That is something the commission can do. It is your discretion to do that. I've been involved in projects on the other side of the table where we have done that very frequently, and I would say that is the norm, rather than waiting for the MIPA process to end. Typically, the MIPA process begins, you go through the ENF process, you get comments back, you modify the plans based on the comments, provide additional information, and get to the point they're at now, which is submitting a final environmental impact report, which is comprehensive in terms of addressing all the comments that have come in. And it's often helpful to go through the local process so that you can go back to MIPA and say, we've also, been through the local process and we've completed that review process. So I don't believe there's anything restricting the commission from moving forward. If as a result of this last round with MIPA, they make a change to the plan, they'd have to come back to you.
Mhm.
And you'd have another opportunity to review whatever change that may be. Attorney Brennan mentioned the monitoring plan, which they've agreed to. That's something we can work out, a stream monitoring plan. I think we can come up with something that is reasonable and will provide the Conservation Commission with the data they need to understand if any impacts are occurring to the stream. And there was also a comment about the stream observations and whether or not the observations were gathered by a credible professional. They were gathered by Rebecca from Silva Engineering. She's been working in this industry for many, many years. She is a credible professional, in my opinion, and I believe the observations are legitimate. One thing that has changed since the last hearing, you'll recall that I showed a map of the drought status in southeastern Massachusetts at the last hearing. That has changed. If you haven't been outside, you won't be surprised to know that it's changed. I'm going to share my screen so you can see it, if that's okay.
Sure.
So this is the current drought status. This was issued on November 7th. You can see southeastern Mass is in significant drought. Northern part of the central part of the state's in a critical drought, and Cape Cod is normal. They backdate these, so they basically set an effective date that goes back, to a point where they think the data they have justifies declaring a drought retroactively, and they did that here. They made the drought status effective October 1st, 2024. So the observations submitted by the applicant by Silva Engineering were taken on September 17th. So they are still valid observations, even in light of the fact that a drought has since been declared. That drought is only retroactive to October 1st. And the only other thing I'll add is that in terms of the credibility of the observations, I also myself went and looked at the area near the culvert and saw the stream dry the day, I believe it was the day after or 2 days after Silva wrapped up their observations. So, I'm comfortable with the knowledge that I saw it dry myself. And it was mentioned that perhaps observation should have been taken further upstream into the wetland system, but the only portion of that stream that's mapped as perennial with a solid blue line is the portion very close to this culvert, within, say, 10 feet or so. The rest of the stream continuing up gradient into the wetland system is not mapped at all on the USGS map, so it's presumed to be intermittent. So it's really not in question at this point. So I think the scope of the documentation and data submitted is sufficient given the mapping of the perennial stream.
Okay.
So that's what I got. I'm happy to answer any other questions that come up along the way.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mark. Bob, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I know there's been questions regarding trees and landscaping. When the planning board approved this project, they approved it conditionally with the applicant coming back to present a landscape plan and to address the tree issue. It was agreed that they would do that after they were completed with the Conservation Commission. So there's no final approval from planning board until the applicant gets approval for the landscape and tree plan from the planning board.
Okay, thank you. Okay, how about Conservation Commission people? Marilyn?
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you, guys. And, Mark, anybody that went back and looked at your, your first report, again, thank you for a very thorough investigation as to what was the concerns of the Bridgewater Conservation Commission. And, I re-listened to it last night and I re-looked at everything. And, again, a lot of comments from the abutters, which is great because that was made us ask questions and get more information from a peer review. So I will say it on every hearing. It is rules, regulations, performance standards, this is how we have to get our information in and do our due diligence and make the call. You know, looking at everything, you know, I've been out there myself several times since the meetings, and I took Caitlin for a good long walk out there too. And that line from 2007, it didn't change, which is shocking for 17 years. But in my opinion, I agree with you know, it's a valid line that I made sure to say in this hearing, there was not a valid line out there. We are determining that line now. I don't see any issues with the line when I walked it. You know, sometimes you don't get the answer that you want to hear, to be honest, but you know, the stream, this is 3 times it has been looked at, and we don't make the state rules. We don't delegate a drought task force. The state does. The fact is that it was the 3rd time it was proven that there was no flow. And I've been out there, there's nothing blocking it. It is what it is. We go by rules and regulations. So I know, I thank people for the due diligence. I had concerns with the MIPA stuff. You know, I looked into that also. In Perkins, is an example that we still have MIPA out on. And yes, they look more for our say on that, because I want to make sure if there's anything that needs to be updated, we have the right to update something. So that was a big concern of mine, and I am, you know, more comfortable with that at this point. You know, they're agreeing to a monitoring plan, which is phenomenal, because you want to make sure that stuff gets tested before any construction. They're doing that. You know, again, looking at the summary that I did, you know, I wanted to make sure from a techno, you know, position. Greg came on last week and reviewed the updated plans and gave his stuff on that. So, you know, Mark raised a great question on the irrigation wells. You know, I'm hearing that they don't have an impact. You know, I don't know how much sometimes gets evaporated. You know, we use ground wells. Everybody can have private wells, so that, you know, it's interesting of how many was there and not there. Sorry, that was my daughter calling, who's in Dartmouth, and I can't answer. The other thing I was looking at closely, again, was the monitoring plan. You know, good evidence back from Dr. Carr in the 3 times. You know, everything is falling into the rules and regulations. You know, there's no vernal pools out there. There's no endangered species. You know, the tree cutting goes back to planning board. Planning board has to tie this up. As far as, you know, the ACEC area, you know, I'm very passionate about that. And I followed up more on, you know, people of high level. There is no extra law protection as far as the BVW on that. In other words, we have a local bylaw ordinance, whatever you want to call it, of 25 feet. So I had said before, I'd like to see our bylaws updated, and some towns have a restriction of 150 feet in an AC area. Unfortunately, we don't have that bylaw. So unless they're going directly into it, that's your higher level of care, your higher level of standards. I'm putting my nursing hat on with higher level of care, but that's, you know, where we have more authority if they were going to go in. Now, I believe we have good authority as far as watching anything that they're doing on, you know, with you know, special conditions, stuff like that. But as of right now, I am being completely honest. They are falling in the rules and regulations and performance standards, and the facts are the facts. We don't make this up. Again, like I just said, we're not the drought task. We just go by the evidence and the facts that are presented. And that's what I've looked at, and I'll have some concerns about any, you know, things moving forward if we discuss, but that's my takeaways. Mm-hmm. And I've been out there a lot in the last couple, a lot, you know, so.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Yep.
Well said. I would ditto the things that you said. How about Harry?
No comment.
Okay. Thank you. How about Eileen?
I went over the whole meeting from the last previous meeting and looked at all the information and then listened to Mark again today, and I am in agreement with Marilyn.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Mark, oh, did you have anything else, Eileen, or were you good? Okay. Mark?
I got a couple of questions. So what months were considered seasonal for the usage of the irrigation? And what, up to what days?
So Mark,
Sorry,
now
sorry,
can
sorry.
you answer that?
May I ask the question of Mr. Brennan, Attorney Brennan?
Yeah, sure.
What was considered seasonal?
I believe the sprinklers first start being used late April, early May, and go through September, mid-October.
Okay, thank you. And another question, was one of the wells from 75 Fruit Street?
That's the industrial building?
Yes.
Yes, it was. That's 610 feet away from the stream.
That's the 610 feet one. Okay. And when can we see this data? Was it sent to us anyway?
Well, no, it was not.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mark? You good?
Just not with that. Nothing else. Unless we're discussing other parts of this project. I don't know if it's a foregone conclusion we're gonna accept it or not. But as far as invasive plants, is there gonna be a vegetation plan for this project?
That is supposed to go before planning after after they finish with us, it goes back to the planning board and then they're discussing vegetation, tree issues.
Comprehensive landscape and tree plan.
There we go.
And then what about soil movement? I know that that's one of the concerns of the planning board is, but to make sure they're not reusing soil on the site that actually has invasive plants in the soil already. That seems to be a problem in some places in town. I don't know if that's part of.
That would be the
issue-
planning board issue.
That issue, all I will say, I'll briefly say is that was discussed at planning board. All the parties were aware of it and are conscious of taking every step to minimize the invasive species. We're aware of that issue. It's becoming very commonplace in development.
Problematic.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mark, thank you. I don't think I really have anything else to add. One thing that I did come across when I was looking at ACEC information was it said that it does not supersede local regs or zoning, change or affect land ownership, allow public access on private property, or prohibit or stop land development. We, as a commission, try to do our due diligence in making sure that all the information that's been brought to us gets addressed. And, you know, I am pretty comfortable feeling that the issues that did come before us have been. So that's really all I have to say. We'll open it. We have our 3-minute timer, so I will open it for public questions. And again, if you have a question, just ask it of me, and then I will figure out if it needs to be directed to somebody else, either Mark or Attorney Brennan.
I will waive on your 1 minute as
So I'm just gonna ask people to be patient and use the raise your hand feature or *9 if you're on your phone, so I can recognize you. If you sent in written comments, those are made part of the record. I think we want to avoid having people repeat the testimony of the person before them, so just be aware of that. So if you start scanning the crowd to see if there are public comments. Jean has her hand up. So Jean, if you would just identify yourself and your name and address, please.
Hello, I'm Jean DiBattista. I am from 260 Lakeside Drive, and I am happy to address the commission today. I wanted to point out something first, that last night there was a fire in my neighborhood, And just down the street at Lakeshore Drive itself, there was another fire just a few days ago that was actually relatively large. And as we all know, there is a red flag status for fires in Massachusetts. I don't know if everyone knows, but there has been over 500 fires now from the beginning of October. And Massachusetts is in a severe drought. The normal time period for this type of activity to occur, or the normal amount of fires that usually occur, is 15 to 20. Okay, the effects of this is coming directly from climate change. And what the people here are concerned about is how this project is going to impact us all. And I would include also not just the residents of this neighborhood, but all of the people that live on Claremont's properties. One thing that is confusing to me that I'm hearing from the commission tonight is, number one, when I read the regulations, which this commission is responsible for, it talks about within 100 feet of any freshwood, wetland, marsh, wetland, bog, or swamp, within 100 feet of a bank, lakes, pond, or stream, or any land under said waters, and within 100 feet of any land subject to flooding or inundation by groundwater or surface water. That is from your bylaws on the website. So it confuses me when I hear you talk about just the 20-foot buffer, which is, according to state regulations, only supposed to be for absolutely no touch, versus the 100-foot buffer is supposed to be no build. So that is one thing I would like the commission to address. That definitely concerns me. And I would like to see if it's possible for the applicant to move the hotel out of the 100-foot buffer zone and an alternatives analysis to be performed. Secondly, when it comes to the streams, I understand the distance that was specified in this meeting. However, what was asked for was the amount of water being drawn down
1 minute,
by
Jean.
these wells. So, we asked for that, not for just the location of the streams. That has not been provided. That is significant. There are rules within how a stream is designated that talk about the amount of water, not the location of the stream. And so that is something that concerns me, that was not provided. It appears to me almost like it's been circumvented versus being provided. When it comes to MIPA, I would like to know that if MIPA has additional concerns, that those concerns will be addressed by this commission
Jane.
before the project
Wrap it.
is completed. Did you just try to tell me it's 3 minutes?
Yep,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, so those are some of the points I'd like to address. But I'm
Thank
just
you.
going to say one more thing. It concerns me that it seems to me that before this public hearing occurred, that there's been conclusions drawn. They appear to me to be prejudiced towards the applicant and not addressing the true concerns of the public. Thank you.
Thanks, Jean. I would like to say that as far as the MIPA, of course, if they came back with something that they were highly concerned about and needed adjustments, that we would absolutely have to look at that. And as far as the amount of drawdown, Attorney Brennan, do you have any info on that?
All I had was the location of the wells and the fact that they're seasonal and limited in use on a daily basis.
Okay. Thank you.
And Madam
Um,
Chair, if I may,
Sure.
I do take offense in hearing that we're prejudiced. By no means, this is our town too. We do facts, our due diligence. We're very concerned about this area, but facts are facts, and I just want to keep that in mind. There's no emotion here. I don't get to rule in on what I think this project should or shouldn't do. I get to rule in on what's presented on the facts. And I don't know if you want to have Mark present a little bit more on how the findings were for the stream, but the facts are the facts. And that's it.
Okay, so Melissa has her hand up. So Melissa, if you would just identify yourself, your name and address, please.
Sure. Hi, good evening. Melissa Raymondetta, 317 Lakeside Drive, Bridgewater. Commissioners, as you've noted, this is about rules and regulations. So my first comment is, Why is a third-party review report regarding stormwater management from March 2024 prepared by a commercial tenant of Claremont still part of this proceedings, and its reviewer recommendations still being referred to by the applicant's engineer? The town manager, with advice of town council, confirmed the appearance of a conflict of interest in selecting this third-party review back in April 2024. Why is this review still part of this hearing? In addition to that, I'd like to mention that the state has something called the Water Management Act, which is 100,000 gallons per day withdrawal in 3 months. Claremont provided in their NPC for Lakeshore Center in July 2013 that 37,600 to 57,000 gallons per day would be withdrawn from Lakeshore Center from the aquifers. Now, keeping in mind, this project has gone through piecemeal through MEPA. So who's not to say that there is 100,000 gallons of irrigation water being pulled from that aquifer every summer season? And it's a 3-month criteria that MEPA, that the state gives for this to have to get this permit. So I think you need to keep that in mind when you're thinking about drawdowns for this stream, because if there are drawdowns, the stream study does not apply, and it should remain perennial. In addition to that, the Bridgewater bylaw states that failure to avoid or prevent unacceptable significant cumulative effects upon the wetland values protected by this bylaw. Extensive work. This is something that can deny a project. Extensive work is planned. 19.9 acres. 11 is upland. They have moved it to the east side instead of moving it to the west side where the grassy area is. The east side has the wetlands. They can move this out. They won't move it out. This needs to be considered by you commissioners, because you have a bylaw that says failure to avoid or prevent unacceptable significant cumulative effects upon the wetland values protected by this bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Marilyn or Bob, do you have any comments on the third-party review or the water drawdown, or?
I would refer that. So we did not accept that third-party review for that reason, that we thought it was a conflict of interest. So that was not considered by the commission at all. The wetland LEC was one of the 3 choices that an applicant could pick from. But the stormwater, we referred to Greg, our town engineer, Greg Tansey, Mr. Tansey, to make the callings on these plans. We did not acknowledge or look at, or take into account that third-party review. So
I'd suggest you look at Silva Engineering's communications, because that's not true.
Well, we're not. What's true, Melissa, is that we're looking at what Greg Tansey tells us. I haven't looked at anything from that third party. We didn't recognize it. It wasn't one of our choices. There was 2 other technos there, and the town engineer was responsible for the stormwater. So I didn't look at anything from a third party review that was not acknowledged by this commission. Thank you.
Their report is part of the record because it was entered. So to Ms. McDonald's point, they're not relying on it, but
Not using it.
we don't have the ability to pull it out of the public record. Mr. Callahan, you have your hand up. If you could just identify yourself, name and address, please.
Callahan, President, Taunton River Watershed Alliance. I live at 1 Farrier Farm Road in Berkeley. And thank you for the opportunity to comment. The TWA as a whole, it's group that has members in the town of Bridgewater, is in opposition to this expansion of the project, only because of the sensitivity of Lake Nip and the ACEC. And I too concur with the chairperson about ACEC designation doesn't have the special protections that it actually deserves, because of its special significance. And also directing to LEC, I'm concerned to hear that there was a lack of inspection of the upgrading side of the upstream side of the where the culvert enters the street. I've been out there, I've looked at that area. I know there's not much of a riparian barrier left on the downstream side, and also quite a bit of debris that's fallen in that area. I wonder if the same thing exists on the upland side. And also, yes, I mean, to reiterate, riparian barriers are so important to, wetlands and streams, small streams especially. 25-foot buffer, that's not much, of a buffer for the wetlands in that area and the potential effect that land disturbances had on the streams in that area. And thank you for the opportunity to comment.
All right, thank you, Joe.
Is there any other member of the public?
Bernie,
Janet has her
he
hand
has
up.
a hand up.
Yeah, I think. Janet, hand up. If you could just identify yourself, your name and address, please.
Hi, Janet Hanson, 665 Pleasant Street, Bridgewater. Thank you. I just want to say that I agree with everything that my previous people have previously said. I don't feel any decision should be made to close it to the public at this point. There's still a lot of questions that need to be answered. Just the fact that when they were talking about where the wells were, somebody else already said it, but I had written down, where's the data to show what has been drawn, what is being drawn, that, there's no data. So that should be addressed. I still don't understand why this project needs to be where it is. And they never want to consider moving it. Half of the issues would be resolved if they just move the thing. And one of the comments that was made by Claremont Company, or the head of it, back at the planning board time was, why do you want to cut all the trees that are in front of the hotel, which has nothing to do, they don't need to cut all those trees in that separate lot. But he said, oh, it's for visibility. But if he wants visibility, then move the thing up to where his road, Lakeshore Drive Road is. It would be away from the stream. It'd be away from all that wetland. It would be less destructive. He would have less opposition. It still would be something to consider for this area, because it is an area of ACEC, and it should be an area of more critical concern. And I hear what you said, that our bylaws, which is unfortunate, and that needs to change. 25 foot is shorter than my vacuum cleaner cord. And I always use that as an example. That is not a lot of area. And there just needs to be accountability on this. And, I just feel that it should stay open until some of these other questions. And the other thing is that they do say that they're going to do a plan for stream monitoring.
1 minute, Janet.
Thank you. But I think that plan should be presented to you to be sure that it's an acceptable plan before you give the green light. And my concern is once they get the green light, they start doing it. And then you find that there's certain other things. They've already started the project. What's the recourse? And I know you don't have to wait until MIPA's done and whatever, but it doesn't mean you can't wait. And I strongly hope that you would wait and not close this meeting yet to the public. I guess otherwise I'll be repeating everything I said in my letter, and hopefully you guys got my letter.
We did.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet.
Sam Gard has his hand up. Sam, if you could just identify yourself, name and address, please.
Sam Baumgartner, 60 Short Street. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. I just want to add another voice to the many voices that have been before you tonight about to make sure that we don't go forward with anything until every last question has been answered. Every question and every report has been turned in. I feel like we, from a philosophical point of view in a way, we always seem to do everything we can to help the developer. to get the projects going, and I think we should be looking at it from the other side. We need to stand up for the residents and the community, and again, make sure that every question is answered. One of the questions that did not get answered was raised by Jean about the 100-foot wetland buffer versus the 25-foot. I'm not clear on that myself. I don't think they should be allowed to go anywhere near the wetlands, and we should stick to the highest level of strictness on that. So I would like a little more clarification on that. So please act on the side of all the residents first, the developers second, and let's conserve this area and push the developers to move it. As people have said, it would eliminate a lot of questions. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Sam.
Bernice, go ahead, but it's easier when you use the raise your hand feature. There's several people here.
I couldn't get it. Well, anyways, thank you for calling on me. Agree with everything that everyone has said.
Your name and address, please, first, Bernice.
Bernice Morrissey, 150 Lakeside Drive, Bridgewater, Mass.
Thank
So, Mark mentioned tonight that it's a large aquifer. We know that land sits on so much water. I want to bring you back to 2001 MEPA report where former executive Trudy Cox, Executive Environmental Secretary, stated that it is particularly important to maximize the buffer zones which serve to protect wetlands in their functions. This was February 2001 in MEPA. So Claremont knew going into this, they exactly knew where they were building on and that it's ACEC area, all of those things, and yet they're still pushing the envelope towards infringing on the wetlands and not respecting buffers and everything else they do. In previous years, if you followed it the way I have, I've seen so many waivers approved in the early days that now we're having problems. The results are showing. So the other thing I want to talk about is the streams. So I got a hold of somebody who actually serves on the task force, the Massachusetts Drought Task Force. And I learned a lot just today or yesterday. They are currently meeting, they meet once a month from May through November normally, but this drought is so severe, they're meeting bi-weekly. What I learned from Lydia Olson, who is the technical person from the drought, from Riverways, but everybody from DCR to NOAA to all these different agencies have a representative on this task force. So they take this very serious. What they found this year is it was a slow introduction into, because of lack of precipitation, that it was slow getting up to drought conditions, but DCR declared it a drought in mid-September. So that is on record. So we have some questions about when this drought actually began. Another one of the agencies presented that the streams were extremely low this year throughout the state. So I don't think we can use this year's 2004 study. I also want to go back to 2007 when Kenneth Thomas looked at, how many minutes?
Just one, hon.
Oh, thank you. Kenneth Thomas from CR Environment did a similar study looking for 4 days of no water in the streams. And he did it on August 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. Just before 5:30, I hit the button and I sent a picture into CED so you can see. I took pictures of the lake because it was in a drought that year. And now I know, after talking to the drought committee or task force, that they do it retroactively, as Mark had explained earlier. So we need to revisit that as well. That I know it was a drought in 2007. So that was the 2 times you did that kind of monitoring. And to me, it's really not stacking up to what was the actual conditions. The other thing is Town of Rainham. So they're putting in wells, and you talk about drawdown. Their drawdown hasn't registered yet because they already used one of the wells in the NIP for drawdown for water for the residents. Well, now they're expanding in this area and it's all coming from the same aquifer. So I think we need to be considerate of that fact that there'll be additional drawdown. And I
Get
I
3
think
minutes
that-
on the,
and I do have, oh, one other thing, in 1992.
you're past your 3 though. If everybody gets a chance to
Alright.
talk, we can come back to you.
Thank you. All right, I'm good.
Thank you, Bernice.
You're welcome.
Brandon, if you could just identify yourself, name and address, please.
I haven't had it all day.
Thank you. Brandon Fanoff with Ecosystem Solutions, 100 Jefferson Boulevard, Warwick, Rhode Island. I'm representing Melissa Ramondetta, Bernice Morrissey, and Pat Neary. I'd like to reiterate everything they've just said and support it. A few comments of my own as well. Having read through the some of the more recent reports from Silva Engineering, regarding the observations of the stream being dry over 4 days. You know, a lot of respect for Mr. Manganello and his opinions, but I have to state some of my own. Rebecca, who took the pictures as a competent source, I just want to put out that she's an engineer in training, not necessarily you know, a wetland scientist. So I question her competency under the regulations. The pictures also, they're taken more or less straight down. And I know that Mark said that you're only really interested in, you know, about 10 feet or so on the property side. I think it's a little more than that. But the pictures are something to be desired. And that when you take a picture, you should be taking it along the length of the stream, because you can look down and cherry pick any spot that you want and show it being dry. Okay, so I don't agree with the pictures. Also part of the requirements under the regulations are that there are field notes required. So as part of that regulation, it reads, field observations made after December 20, 2002 shall be documented by field notes and by dated photographs or video. They were dated photographs, but no field notes. Okay. Also, just in general,
1 minute left, Brendan.
this whole project can be kept completely outside of the riverfront area, which is something that nobody seems to be really talking about. And my understanding is that the applicant could use that other land for other projects in the future, but I don't think that's how the commission should be reviewing the project under the rules and regulations, under 310 CMR 10, that they have an alternative. It's a viable alternative to keep all the work outside of the riverfront area. And regarding the withdrawal from the nearby wells, according to that 2013 report, the numbers on the withdrawal are 37,657,000 gallons per day. That is not a small amount, and I think it's significant enough for the commission to be given pause about not taking that into consideration as a significant drawdown that may be affecting the flow in the stream. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak? Please raise your hand. Joe Callahan has his hand up again.
Okay.
Hi, thanks. I just want to concur with the previous speaker that 10 feet, I walked that today. It's a lot more than 10 feet, that section to the culvert. And I would encourage the Concom before they close the hearing to inspect the upstream side of that. So to again, I believe land disturbance has occurred so much in that property that has affected the wetlands, and the wetlands, connection, hydraulic connection to the stream. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Pat, Gary, again, it's easier if there's 45 people here. So it's easier if you use the raise your hand feature because it signals to me. But go ahead, Pat, name and address, please.
Sure, thank you. Pat Neary, 225 Lakeside Drive. And I would like to concur with all of Jean DiBattista's comments primarily, and also Janet Hansen, there is actually no reason that the developer cannot move his hotel out of that wetland buffer. There is a corner of the hotel that's in the wetland buffer, and in an area of critical environmental concern that should not be allowed. Even though there aren't measurements given in that regulation, the fact that it is something that requires a higher elevated concern. And they should either reduce the number of rooms for that hotel so that they can be outside of the 100-foot buffer, or just move the hotel. So I thank you for listening.
Thank you, Pat.
Brandon has his hand up again.
I'll be very brief. Something I forgot. Something that really hasn't been on anybody's radar, but I wrote about in my July 24th, 2024 letter to the commission, is that it's possible this project does not meet the performance standards for bordering land subject to flooding, the 100-year flood zone. We have a zone A, 100-year flood zone without an elevation. I don't think there's been any studies to figure out what the actual flood elevation next to this site is. So that's something that I think you should all be taking into consideration as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
And are there any other members of the public that would like to speak? And again, if you could give me the courtesy of using the raise your hand feature, it's much easier for me to find you. Madam Chair, I'm not seeing any.
Okay. Oh,
Madam
so,
Chair, may
I'm sorry?
I?
Yes.
So, again, thank you for everybody that spoke. Lots of good stuff. Again, that's, peeking more questions to be answered. So I thank you immensely. I'd like if, maybe just to have Mark weigh in on a lot of these, because I'd like to know, Brandon raised some good points. Both Mark and Brendan are one of our peer reviews that are recognized by Bridgewater. So there are some good questions that came up with the abutters in Brandon that I'd like if Mark and the applicant can address. Some of them on my end, and we can go through the commission too, is explaining that 100-foot. The well data, is it data that we can see? Mark, did you see that? Are you comfortable going further into the drought with the streams? Because if we're being told that it was a drought effective October 1st, we want to be making the right calls. The stuff that Brendan brought up with field notes, riverfront. So that would be my concern moving forward, Madam Chair, is that we have some of those addressed to get some answers.
Okay.
Sure, I can speak
go
to a
ahead.
few of
I'm
those.
sorry. Okay.
Perhaps Mr. Brennan can speak to the BLSF question, but I believe the plans have a BLSF elevation on them that was based on flood study. I'm just trying to find that right now myself, but you may have that at your fingertips, Mr. Brennan.
No, but I might. We did a letter of map amendment with FEMA. We did it back on the Access project. And when we submitted the data for the FEMA Loma, they came back with us with this elevation that applied to the whole 270-acre property. So we applied that elevation 62.8, 63.4. I'm not sure what it is on with datum. And that was the flood that was determined for the whole property back in 2000. Geez, I'll look for that.
Is it me or are people having a hard time here, Rebecca?
Yeah, she kind of faded out.
Okay.
Oh, my monitor is too far away. So we did a flood study. We submitted to FEMA for a LOMA, and they issued a LOMA based on an elevation that was illustrated on the plan for the entire property, because each of the three culverts are hydraulically connected. So the whole site has one elevation, and we demonstrated to FEMA that their maps were wrong and twisted. So even if you look at the zone A, it is not accurate. So when we went for the LOMA, they said that the elevation on the plan, 62.8, or 63.4, depending on your datum, is the flood elevation for this side of the culverts. And I can provide the data again to the commission, because I'm sure they have it from when we did the axis.
Right, so it's shown as FEMA 63.4 on the plans, and there's no work in that area that's contained within the 25-foot no disturb zone. That was Rebecca speaking, who took the stream observations herself. You know, were there field notes? I don't know, she didn't submit field notes. Like I said, I went there myself and personally looked at the stream dry the day after the last observation. I was watching the weather every day, so we can quibble about whether or not she's a qualified or credentialed individual, but the stream was dry and the photos show the stream dry. So for me, I think that's sufficient, and I think DEP would agree if they have an opportunity to review. As far as the gallons per day on the water withdrawal, that was disclosed in the MEPA filing. And like I said, I don't believe that's significant enough to cause a drawdown in this aquifer, given the size of the aquifer. So we're talking about a massive, massive area within which the amount of water, you know, we couldn't even begin to quantify. And while that does seem like a lot, I don't think it's enough to cause a withdrawal under these circumstances, or cause a drawdown, excuse me, under these circumstances. And what was the other thing, Marilyn? Was there one other item?
The well data. Did you look at well data presented? Like, do we have that to see? That's a good point. Like,
The gallons per day?
the irrigation wells on site.
Yes, like the gallons per day water withdrawal was disclosed in the MEPA filing.
I think the other question, Mark, was on the discrepancy or the questions on the 100-foot buffer or boundary.
A discrepancy in the buffer?
Oh, there's some residents have raised questions that seem to say there's a contradiction in our bylaws, and I may not be.
I'm not aware of anything in the bylaw. The bylaw gives the Conservation Commission jurisdiction over any activity within the 100-foot buffer, but the only real meaningful regulation in the bylaw is the 25-foot setback. There's nothing within the bylaw that would preclude development within that outer 75 feet of the buffer zone. And my understanding is the commission's been fairly consistent over the years in applying that standard.
Councilmember Ellenberg, I see your hand up, but I want to let this portion of the conversation continue first. Jean DiBattista, do you want to ask the question you had? Because I may not have captured it correctly.
Or what specific part of
The
it?
100-foot buffer, you had made a comment about moving out of, or you made a comment around the 100-foot buffer.
If you read the regulations, both our local bylaws and the state regulations, what is said in both is that it's supposed to be 100-foot no build zone. If you look at what is supposed to happen with the 25-foot buffer, it is supposed to be a 25-foot no touch zone, which means no activity whatsoever, including construction, can happen in that zone. So this is stuff that we've all looked at before. We do sometimes find some contradictions in some of the, when something isn't well written, sometimes you do find a contradiction. I do want to comment, though, that this drawdown, the information that was given today is not the information that was asked. And, what I don't like is it seems to me like somebody's opinion on how significant this is being used against the facts. And the facts basically, I think, need to be presented more objectively. Basically, this is something that, I don't know, I'll stop now because, I just want to say one other thing, though, that I didn't say to begin with, is right now, as Massachusetts is fighting all these fires. And this is something for Claremont to consider as well. What is going on is they're starting to run out of water to fight them. And the reason is because the drought is so severe that they're starting to run out of water that will allow them to fight these fires. And that includes drawdowns from lakes, drawdowns from fire hydrants, so on and so forth. And take a look at what the governor is saying about this, because this could affect your property in the future. This could affect your residents in the future. And it's not that far away. With what we're seeing right now, there's 500 fires in Massachusetts.
Yeah, thank you, Jean. Mark, did you want to just respond to that?
No, I have nothing else to add. I didn't see anything in the bylaw that said there was 100-foot setback the way she described it. I see a 25-foot no disturb.
Thank you. Councilmember Ellenberg, you could just name and address for the record, please.
Adeline Ellenberg, 76 Aldrich Road in Bridgewater. And I'm coming late to this issue. What I wanted to know is, why is it that the developer will not move the project to the uplands, to the west, as people have suggested? Is there a reason for such a thing, that it has to be in the wetlands like that? Could someone kindly answer why we don't just move the project?
That has been my question, with all that's been said, because several people have mentioned it, and I guess that it is a planning board issue. So
Mr. Brennan can speak to.
I mean,
maybe the why it's pushed back so far.
well, the location of the hotel at this point, it actually was moved around at the request of the planning board. And a lot of time and effort was put into citing it where it is. And yes, it's within the 100 feet of the wetland line, so it's within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. But it wasn't just plopped down there without any basis. We're trying to use our property as best we can, as all the residents in the town of Bridgewater do. When people come in before this Conservation Commission, there are regular filings all over town that are within the 100 feet of the wetland line, and therefore trigger the jurisdiction of this commission. It's absolutely not a no build within the 100 feet. The only no touch is the 25 feet under the local conservation bylaw. It's not under the Wetland Protection Act. That's a jurisdictional number, and we fall within that, and therefore we're before the commission. So we worked very hard with the planning board to come up with the location of the building where it is. It's good planning from our point of view. We've designed this project with the ACEC in mind. We've given up parking spaces. We've moved the building, I think, twice. There's been a tremendous effort to come up where it is finally now. And I think we've designed this under the Wetland Protection Act and under the local bylaw to conform with the performance standards. And that's what's required of all property owners within the town of Bridgewater. And I believe we've met that burden. And a higher burden should not be put upon Claremont just because it's a commercial builder, a commercial development. That's not the way the rules have to apply to all. They can't be customized to a particular project. And I think we've spent a lot of time and effort to bring this project within the Wetland Protection Act and your local bylaw. And I think it meets all of the performance standards. So the building is where my client feels it's best suited for the overall development of this property.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan.
Thank you.
Pat Neary has her hand up again. Pat?
I just wanted to mention and remind Mr. Brennan that this is the only area in town that's ACEC. The other areas where they may have had some leeway are not in the ACEC. This one is. Thank you.
Does anyone else from the public have a comment? Mr. Callahan, your hand is up again.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to make one comment. actually ask Mark of LEC, if I may. You talk about the irrigation wells and the drawdown of the irrigation wells and the effect that may have on the aquifer. But did you consider this area is also within the zone 2, the map zone 2 of Rainham public water supply wells? And that map zone 2 is the area of recharge under worst case scenarios where it could draw down water, affect drawdown during drought periods. Thank you.
Yeah, I noticed that it was a zone 2, but I didn't find that to be significant to the decision on the withdrawal issue.
Thank you, Mark. Janet has her hand up again.
Hi, sorry. Janet Hanson, 665 Pleasant Street. I just want to again say that we need to have these questions answered, but as far as the moving of the building, Mr. Brennan said that it's been moved by planning board's suggestion, but if you look at how much it's moved, we're not talking a lot. And yes, they did reduce some of the parking space, but it still kept it within the 100-foot buffer, a corner of it. So, you know, may say that it happens all the time, which is sad, which is what we're trying to say. What's the point of having regulations if everybody's going to get waivers or exceptions and have things allowed? That's what's disappointing. But as far as cutting, you know, the position of it, they had said that they want to cut all the trees that are in front and another lot, had nothing to do with the hotel itself. But he said, well, it's for visibility. And then another time they said, oh, they want to clear it because it's, we couldn't get him to say why, Mr. Lovett, as to why they want to have all the trees cut. And they said, one time he said, oh, it's going to be shared. It might be shared parking. It might be this, it might be that. And then we're also told that they're not going to build anything again for 5 more years. I'd be hard pressed to see that, but it just needs to be looked at, and the tree part should not be even part of this hotel. And if he wants it to be visible, again, he should be moving it up closer to the road, and there would be less hazard. Now you got them close to the stream that everybody's concerned about, wetlands, even that tomb, they put a little 30-foot area around it. It has been moved, the building, but not significant. We're talking just a few feet. So it's not like they moved it. So I just want to point that out. And also, did anybody check further up the stream to make sure that it wasn't plugged up? I know somebody may have mentioned it, but there could be debris and stuff.
One minute, Janet.
Thank you. To plug up that stream. I would like to see proof that that is not plugged up, and that but this drought situation is going on, and it just is kind of a mess. In that I just feel like if it can't be protected in EC area, what's the point? Where can it be protected? I appreciate the Conservation Commission effort and all this. I just hope you keep it open. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Janet.
Councilmember Ellenberg.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to urge the commission to continue this hearing and to urge the developers to move it out of the ACEC district. If it only moved for a few feet, that's not valid. Put it in uplands. Do it properly. That's why I would urge the commission to delay a finding at this point until it revisits the planning board and it's put in a proper place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else from the public have anything else to say? I am not seeing any additional hands, Madam Chair.
I think Bernice Morrissey has her hand up.
It's really easier if you use the raise your hand feature. Bernice?
You're on mute. You're on mute.
No, unmuted. Bernice Morrissey, 150 Lakeside Drive. I'm sorry, Bob. I do *9 and I'm on a Mac, so I don't know if it's different on Mac. But I just wanted to add and thank everyone for their very civil comments and very logical comments about not building within a buffer zone in an ACEC area. With all due respect to Mr. Brennan as an attorney for Claremont, it's not the same when you say compared to other homeowners that commercial has to be held to a different standards because proportionally you're taking up more space when you're talking move 2 feet versus a small shed. The impact is much greater. The other thing I'm reminded of is what happened with Mass DOT and Park and Ride, that little spit of land that is the culvert from the stream. A bulldozer went in there. It's evident that a bulldozer moved earth and the shape of the plow is in the dirt over there. And I think it clogged it somehow. And that coincides with when they did the stream study. So I'm just saying leaves a lot of doubt there. And I do hope that you keep this open because there's obviously a lot of things not quite settled yet. Thank you.
Thanks, Bernice.
You're welcome.
We are reaching out to DOT, but that's a separate issue.
Okay.
Yeah, and hang on, let's see who this is. Ray Jemian,
Yeah,
name and address, Ray, please.
hi, Ray Jemian, Aldridge Road. I was on the planning board up until January when this was approved by the board. I just want to make a couple comments. One, that the planning board, first of all, that the hotel was not moved significantly. That simply wasn't the case. Secondly, that the planning board approved this based on our regulations, but the concern of a lot of members of the board, I'm speaking for them, was the issue of conservation. And I think this board, conservation, should, as been suggested, take their time and make sure everything is lined up correctly if they approve. It seems that the questions that have been brought up by the people in the neighborhood are serious questions, and there should be time to discuss it. If it takes more time, so be it, but do not rush your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Dinner, and I would rather go out tomorrow night.
Does anyone else have questions?
You talking about the public?
Sorry, Mr. Peterson.
Are you talking about the public or?
Yes, public.
I'm good.
I'm not seeing any, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Can we bring it back to the commission? There's been a lot of things that have brought up, I feel like a lot of the questions are answered. I guess maybe there's still some question regarding the drawdown. And there's a question about moving the whole thing out, but I'm not sure, honestly, I'm not sure where we go from here. So Marilyn, I could use your feedback.
Madam Chair?
So,
Marilyn.
So, Wendy, yeah, I mean, we've gotten so much good information and so much good comments. And I think, we have a lot in now. A lot of things bounce between planning and conservation. So we have to remember that we are conservation. The 100-foot is allowed on a notice of intent. As I said in the beginning, I wish we had the special bylaw, but unfortunately we don't. So I don't think it's in our purview to move. Planning board had worked on that. We know they're going back to planning board. My concern is that Mark weighs in a little bit more just to make sure that, everything has been answered to, so far I'm hearing the facts answered. I don't think there's anything left that hasn't been answered. And if anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I want, the wells is important. If that's in the MEPA report, then anything that changes or comes up would come back to us. I've been out on that stream, and this is, it's going back several, several times. So it's hard to dispute when you look at it from 2000, 2007, and then current. I get it, we're in a drought. I do, and our water is a vast concern. But it is what it is when it comes to rules and regulations. And if the state didn't call a drought at the time of the observation, and I'm glad Brandon, raised these issues, because again, that's a peer reviewer that we also rely on. And I think we've had good eyes on this. And I just want to, we could go around in circles, but at this point, I don't see anything else that it needs to be answered. But I'd like Mark to weigh in one more time. If, does he have any concerns he would like to follow up on? Because it's sounding to me like, the stream has been proven that, is it what I wanted it to come out? Maybe not, but it's proven that it's showing that it's intermittent. So, I mean, how many times are we going to go around in this circle? So if Mark could kind of, weigh in and, kind of refresh that presentation a little bit, but answer those final questions. And I'm going to say at this point, I don't think I have any other information.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, can we hear, Mark, do you want to respond to, what Marilyn had just brought up?
Sure. I don't know what else I can add at this point. I've given you my opinion as a wetland scientist. The drawdown thing, that is an opinion. There isn't a regulation I'm citing there. So if the commission has reservations about the drawdown issue, there are other ways to get more information on that. That is a possibility you can pursue with the applicant. I think we're going to end up where we are tonight after that, but that is an option if you're still concerned about that issue. I think that's the primary thing right now. Like the rest of the activities in the buffer zone, the commission's consistently permitted activities in the buffer zone in this manner. The applicant is unwilling to move the project. So that's for the commission to determine if that's a suitable response to your concern about work in the buffer zone. I think the layers of that have been peeled back as far as they can. Yeah, that's all I can think of right now. If there's anything more specific you'd like me to speak to, I will.
Thank you, Mark. So on the drawdown, that would be like somebody else looking at that to get calcs for us? Like, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, like a hydrogeologist would analyze the water usage and analyze the way the aquifer operates and render a professional opinion.
All right, thank you. So Wendy, back to you for the commission member. That kind of is my stickler right now is that, and I truly feel that everything else has been answered to part. A lot of it goes back to planning, but the drawdown is a good point. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Marilyn. Just going in order, Harry, do you have any comments or anything that you want to share?
No.
Thank you. Eileen? Eileen, are you still on?
Do you mean Adeline or Eileen?
No.
Eileen.
Okay.
Eileen, commission member.
Okay.
It doesn't look like.
I wonder if something happened.
No, I couldn't get it off mute. Sorry.
Oh.
I was talking and going nowhere. I guess I'm just gonna say that I don't really know what we should do from here on. I don't know if we need drawdown information. Do we need that?
Right.
And if we do, then we should get it. If we don't,
Maybe that, Eileen, that's a good, is Greg Tansey on to answer that for us from a techno point?
He's not here. We asked him to be, but he's not. I don't know that he's qualified to answer that anyways.
Okay.
Madam Chair, that issue's
oh.
gonna be extensively analyzed at the MIPA level, and if there's any changes from what the original filing of the MIPA indicates, then we can certainly bring that issue back to the board, but right now, there's no indication at all that those 4 irrigation wells are affecting the no-flow conditions on that stream. There's nothing connecting the two. It's the same data that was gathered in 2000 and in 2008. And I think that's pretty compelling that the conditions haven't changed there.
So that's good information to know that if it goes to MIPA and then comes back, Mark Mangiolio, is that like a condition, you know, it would have to come back? Because that seems to be my draw here.
If what happened with MIPA?
If the reports on the down, I'm sorry, I'm messing up my words. The drawdown comes back at a different level, we would have the right to come back also. So exactly what Attorney Brennan just said, because that's kind of is my stickler right now, and his response kind of gave you know, okay, MIPA follows up on that, and if there's something that's going on, then it comes back pre any, you know, before anything is enabled to be constructed.
Yes, if there's any significant project changes that result from the MIPA process, they would have to come back to you.
I have a question. If
Okay.
it's my turn.
All right, Mark.
So if the MIPA filing, is that referring to phase 4 of the Lakeshore Center development project?
That would be for Mr. Brennan.
Yeah, I would have to defer that, Bill, because I'm not involved in the actual filing of the MIPA. That's being handled by someone else outside my firm.
So Mr. Manganello, that's you're referring to that in the numbers that you're seeing for the drawdown, correct?
The most recent certificate on the SEIR.
But that's for future withdrawal. Is that the existing withdrawal? Because that's not current withdrawal. That's future withdrawal.
There was, yes, it refers to future withdrawal for this particular lot. And there was documentation elsewhere, perhaps it was the 2013 EIR, that referred to other water withdrawals, you know, existing water withdrawals.
So, but you were basing it upon this, though. So one question I have is about future withdrawal. So property 8 was 75 Fruit Street. That used to be part of phase 4. That used to be part of the phase 4 of the development. And back then there was 39,000 for future withdrawal, 39,000 gallons per day that was expected to be taken out. And then I've noticed that has dropped down to 25,000 gallons per day on the new filing for MIPA. My suspicion, I don't want to be, I think that 15,000 is at 75 Fruit Street. So I think it is at 75 Fruit Street. And if you add to it all the other phases of the project, which would be the 37,000 to 54,000, that could bring it up to in the 60,000s. And there was also another well on 2020, not the date, but the number 2020 Pleasant Street. And it was dug in 1994. I guess it was 10, it was drew 10 gallons per minute, which would be 600 gallons per hour, which would be 14,400 gallons per day. I don't know if that was actually ever in use, but this would be upwards of potentially right now in the 60,000s of gallons per day. And I don't know if he's considering those wells to be the wells that you're using to determine that there is any withdrawal drawdown effect on this project, because that's why I came in. I was kind of fired up. I was gonna make a movement, but I kind of want to get the location and the withdrawal rates. I really want to get the location of the withdrawal rates and the frequencies of all the irrigation wells within all the properties, Lakeshore Center development phases 1, 2, 3, and 4, including 2020 Pleasant Street, including 75 Fruit Street. I think we really need that information and the locations, because if you're only using the locations for phase 4, that's those, I don't even know if those are in effect yet. So that's what I'm concerned about, that you might not, it might have been sort of a real information was lost, and that, you know, who is the, you know, who knows, who's the expert on what certain things. He might not have known exactly what information you needed. You might not have known what to ask for. So I would like to get, I'd like to make a motion.
You
I'd like to
can't make a motion.
Can't make a motion? Why
No,
can't I make a motion?
because you're not, you can
Because-
ask questions, but you don't have the ability to deliberate or vote on this matter. You can ask questions, but you can't make a motion.
Well, I guess if I could make a motion, I would move that the BCC requests the following information from the applicant.
Okay.
Locations and withdrawal rates and frequencies of all irrigation wells within all properties of Lakeshore Center, development phases 1, 2, 3, and 4, including 2020 Pleasant Street and 75 Fruit Street, and the withdrawal data, whatever you can get, for May, June, July, August, September, 2022, 2023, and 2024. I think we really need to see that information. I think there's more wells. I think there's more wells than just the 4. That old SDER filing from 2013 mentioned, I think it mentioned 7 irrigation wells, and there's one they couldn't find, but maybe things have changed since then. And another thing I bring up is the maps of the stream on the USGS maps. We've always been told to not look at the maps. The maps are always going to be, they'll say something, but we shouldn't really trust them. And now we're saying we're supposed to trust them, you know, and that's why we're supposed to limit our search for the stream to 10 feet beyond the culvert. Now, I go to USGS, where is the site there? StreamStats, USGS.gov. And I'm seeing a stream. Now, I'm not saying it's perennial, but I'm seeing the outline of the stream going into the basin that you outlined in one of your reviews. That's going pretty far back. I mean, that's going up to the stream itself goes far back onto the on-ramp between Route 24 and Route 495. That's way up there. Now, I don't know if that's saying that it's I don't know if I can share my screen or not, but
No, I feel like as far as like the stream, I mean, I don't, you know, we've had all this work done, the peer review, everything has come back, and with all the work that's been done and through LEC, I just feel like myself that it is intermittent. That is what it has been determined to be. It hasn't been a constant flow. It is intermittent. So I don't.
And regarding Mr. Peterson's request, it's at the discretion of the voting members whether or not you want to request that additional information from the applicant, either as part of a decision or a motion to continue.
They decided they don't want to do it anymore.
You're
Please
not
be
muted.
unmuted, only conservation.
He was great.
Bernice, please mute yourself.
Where am I?
Mute yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think we really need to get that. I think we really need to get that data. The thing is, we don't know exactly what information Mark Manganello was given. I'm not saying there was anything untoward. I'm just saying there's a lot of changes that have gone along with these MEPA filings since 2007 or even beyond. I've never seen the other ones because they can't be found, but there's a lot of changes and there's a lot of things. You see the number 38,000 every once in a while, but that's referring to the old, the existing irrigation wells. And then you see 39,000 and that's referring to the new ones. It's almost the numbers so close together that they kind of confuse everybody. And you know, if you add them together, it's 78,000. And if you add 78,000 to 100,000, you got 180,000. 180,000 is 10%, or sorry, yeah, 10% of our yearly withdrawal. So that's a magic number right there, the 180. So I'm wondering if there's actually 80,000 gallons per day that's intended to be pulled out of there, which I think is probably within their right. But I'm just wondering if there's even, you know, if it's more than the 37,000 that we're thinking. I'm thinking that it's more than that. And I would like to see where the locations are. Or I'd like for you to to guarantee that you actually have all the locations.
So,
So-
good point. Is that, Wendy through Attorney Brennan and to Mark? So Mark Mangello is obviously, a professional. So I have the same concern. Is this going to be on the MIPA report at the same time? This is one, like, where we've got one project in front of us. I can't jump to what they're going to do down the line. We're here to do one project. So I'd like to hear, if that is going to be what Mark's saying on the MIPA report.
What's it?
If we can direct that, Wendy, to the applicant to answer Mark's question.
So, Mr. Brennan,
Yeah, I've lost the question.
will the
The
information
water
be
usage for
on-
this site is going to be a part of the MIPA filing. So what's before the board tonight, the issue was raised a couple of weeks ago relative to the irrigation wells.
Yeah.
And there are 4 irrigations on the site. I don't believe they have meters on them. So they run seasonal, they run on timers, and they provide landscaping irrigation only.
For
So,
which addresses?
I'm sorry?
For which addresses? Are we talking about the ones for like Access or for Viva?
There is one just east of Access. There's one at the Marriott. There's one at 2 Lakeshore, and there's one at the industrial building. And one at Access. Viva and Access each have one. The industrial building has one, 1 Lakeshore has one. That's what we have for the irrigation wells.
That's 4 wells for total.
Correct.
So there you go, Mark. There's your answer. They only have 4 wells for all the properties.
And the water goes back into the ground.
into
We all know that there's a certain amount of loss in evaporation for
Right.
landscaping and sprinklers, but they're recaptured, it goes back into the aquifer.
Right.
And there's, I can't imagine, as Mr. Manganello said, it's a huge aquifer, doesn't appear to have any impact on the stream. It's consistent with the 2 other observation reports that have been submitted to the board. We've made great efforts to try to address this issue through LEC over the last 3 or 4 months. And I think the commission has all of the information that they need to determine whether we're adhering to the performance standards of the Wetland Protection Act and to make a decision on this NOI, knowing full well, or as well, that the water issue is vetted at the MIPA level as well as, and the Conservation Commission certainly can monitor that process. But I think a decision by this commission propels us forward at the MIPA level. And this issue will ultimately be decided there. There's no evidence that these wells draw down in any significant way on the stream. There's just nothing before the commission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, if I may, there is a comment in the chat from Ms. Hanson. What about the stream monitoring plan? Should that be presented first before closing? And then there are 3 additional members of the public that have their hand raised. So if you want to keep proceeding, or do you want to?
I don't know. I think we need to move on. But as far as the stream monitoring, to Janet Hanson's question, that will be part of the special conditions when we get to that point.
Okay. And do you want to hear from the members of the public?
If they can be real quick, because I think we need to move
I'll
forward.
start with you, Councilmember Ellenberg.
Thank you. This will be quick. I would just like Attorney Brennan to explain why the whole site is not moved. I agree the drawdown is a very significant issue and needs to be reviewed. But could he give an answer? Why is it not on upland?
It is on upland. It's not on wetlands.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Did you, Melissa?
Hi, Melissa Raymondetta, 317 Lakeside Drive. I just want to mention that MIPA is not going to answer your question about the stream. You have to make the determination on the stream.
We have.
And if you think there has been drawdown from these wells, then the stream field observations are invalid. So you need a hydrogeologist to determine the drawdown from these wells. And you're not going to get that information from MIPA. MIPA has been in 4 phases. We're in phase 4 now. So the only way you're going to find out actual drawdown of the 600 residences, the 2 office buildings, the hotel that exists on Lakeshore Center, and their irrigation, which we've been told there are 4 or 5 wells. And also, are these wells registered? You need a hydrogeologist to do this. So if you have doubt that there is drawdown here, then if you think there may be drawdown, you need to hire a hydrogeologist. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Jean, did you want to speak? Because your hand is up.
Yes. Do I need to say my address again?
No.
Okay. I would like to reiterate the same thing Melissa has, and I have one question, which is number one, I think the questions that your own commission member is asking for should be respected and should be responded to. And basically, the information that he's requesting should be provided before the commission makes a decision. Secondly, what I have the same concern as Melissa in that I am not sure that the MIPA report would produce the detailed information that's being requested by the commission in the same format and for the same reasons that we're asking those questions here. And third, I would like to know if this project, no proceeding of this project would occur until MIPA has come back with its findings, and if the information in the report that is the final report from MIPA does not provide this information that we've requested here, that information would then be provided, and the commission would proceed with this report. Because you know, if the project's going to proceed, and if the information that MIPA looks at is more like looking at the entire, because, you know, the MIPA report is a cumulative report. If it's looking at this information in a different way, I don't think that we'll have this question answered properly. And so I think it's better just to do it now, because now this is the question. And before a decision is made, why not get an expert out there to answer this question? Because this is part of the stream regulation. Well, how much drawdown has occurred? I don't think we got the information that we asked for when we were in the meeting last time.
Thank you. Brandon?
Yeah.
Thank you. Regarding the groundwater withdrawal issue, Mr. Manganello, Attorney Brennan, and myself have made opinions regarding the significance of how much water is being withdrawn and whether or not it will impact the stream. However, none of us are what I would call a competent source, which is an important definition in what you're doing here. A competent source is a witness who has sufficient expertise to render testimony on the technical issues of a case. Quick reference, in the matter of the City of Pittsfield Airport Commission, OAR docket 2010-041, states whether the witness has such expertise depends on whether the witness has sufficient education, training, experience, and familiarity with the subject matter of the testimony. What I can say is that significant drawdowns from groundwater play an important part in the commission's decision on whether the 4 days of observations of a stream going from perennial to intermittent are valid. And a hydrogeologist is the best competent source for that kind of information. You know, as a wetland scientist, we learn about groundwater and what, you know, part it plays and really more near surface and near surface hydrology. We're talking about deep groundwater and how that may affect the watershed leading to the stream and how it may lower the water table or water level in the stream. I'm not the best person to give that answer, and neither is Attorney Brennan or Mark Manganello, which is why I recommend that you consult with a hydrogeologist. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Marilyn, help me out. What are we doing?
You know, there's 4 wells, we got the answer. I know that they're wetland scientists, but I also know that, you know, a lot of that goes right back, it's surcharged back into the ground. I believe we have the information we need. You know, the other conservation members can weigh in, but I mean, I believe that, you know, it's a huge aquifer. We're talking 4 wells that got answered to my question. It part of it does get, you know, again, I'm no expert either, but I do use wells on a daily basis. They do get recharged into the groundwater. So, I mean, the rest of the conservation can weigh in. I'm comfortable with the information we have. If you guys feel that you want a hydrologist, then it's you know, we're a commission, we're a team. So I would just ask each individual member on that then, Wendy.
Madam Chair, may I make a point of clarification because I made an error a few minutes ago?
Sure.
There are 5 landscaping wells. I misread my notes. There are 5.
All
But
right, thank you.
we're only talking, I understand that we're only talking about wells that provide landscaping. But those are the only wells on the sites. They're landscaping.
Right. I think okay, so my thought, based on the fact that they are wells that are used for watering the lawn and the plants, I don't think that that amount of water is going to cause any drawdown from the stream. I don't think it's pulling any water. I mean, I'm not a professional either. So but I just don't, I feel like we could go around and around. I feel like, I think we've gotten a lot of information. We asked people to do a lot of what we wanted. I understand that it's an area of critical concern. You know, we're doing our best to like look at things. Would it be nice if it got pulled forward more onto the lawn so it wasn't against the stream so much? Yes, I would like to see that. But, you know, like one of the things said in that ACEC that I read, that we cannot prohibit or stop land development. I mean, they bought the land. We're trying to do right by answering as many questions, getting as much information. My opinion at this point is that, you know, the wells are not causing any major drawdown. So I kind of feel like I would say that we don't need a hydrogeologist to come in.
Wendy?
My opinion. Eileen?
Yeah. Mark from LEC already weighed in on the fact that it's not a significant drawdown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, for irrigation wells that recharge. No, it's not, you know, I mean, I understand it's an area of critical concern as well. And I understand we can go around and around and we can make them do all kinds of things, but I think that we have enough evidence that the wells aren't drawing down any significant amount of water from this aquifer to cause us to, and there are 5 total wells for all those properties. So it's not as if there's 4 wells on the new property that Mark, the member here, thought we were getting 4 new wells. We are getting 1 new well and there are 5 total, from my understanding. So from Mr. Brennan. So I don't feel there's any reason to go any further, but I am only one person, and again, we are a team, so I'll respect everybody else's decisions as well.
I have one question. So there was a comment made, Joe Callahan made a question about the riparian barrier by the stream, and Rebecca, if you're still within earshot, is that something that you can speak to about a barrier by the intermittent stream? Something that's gonna keep anything from heading down into that
Which section,
streamed area?
which section are we referring to? Are we talking about the Lake Nip to the, what I call the third culvert? Are we talking in between the two culverts? Are we talking, we have a lot of elevation change.
The one that's closest, I think, to the park and ride.
When I looked at that one, I stood at the culverts and I looked down at the vegetation, and I honestly didn't look past the vegetation that was there. I didn't traverse much further than the 20 feet that I could see. So I don't know what kind of terrain is further down.
Okay.
That probably doesn't help answer your question.
But so the water, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna find my words after almost 2 hours. So the water management, that you have out in the back there by that stream, it's like built up high with the rocks and,
We're talking about the drainage basin.
yes, thank you.
You're welcome. The drainage
So-
basin does have berms to keep the water in the basin until it discharges into the riprap and on its way. That
Okay.
basin will also recharge and provide more water into the ground. In fact,
The
when
ground.
we designed some of these other sites, we actually put the wells in the basins to encourage the irrigation wells to be fed off of those. It didn't work out that way because of how the construction management worked, but we were using that method at the time.
Okay. All right.
Madam Chair, there are more comments in the chat, two from
Yeah.
Ms. Morrissey, one of which I'm not going to read because it refers to a letter she submitted, which is made part of the record. Her second comment has to do with the previous drought period years. I don't feel heard on the matter of drought study done in 2007. We did not know that drought dates are retroactive and nulls the 2007 report. Quite possible 2024 drought as determined by DCR is in effect as level 1 mid-September 2024. And then Ms. Hanson has something that, what is the evidence? Thinking and actual facts on a water draw are two different things. Options are not factual. I don't know if she meant to say opinions. What is the harm in hiring an EPERT to test? And I'm reading as it's written. It would be best to either support Concom or support residents. We need this, and Brandon is repeating his comment earlier that neither he, Mark, or Mr. Brennan are qualified to make these determinations.
Okay. All right.
Wendy, at this point, I think we didn't take the 2000, we wanted new information, and they did it. So the 2000, when we're referring to it, 1999, 2000, 2007, yes, they did that study. But we made perfectly clear we weren't going to look at old data, and they presented new data. That's a fact. They presented new data. We just discussed the wells. There's nothing else on here right now that we should just be keeping going around and around. So with that, I'm going to have the chair entertain a motion that we close the meeting of notice of intent, 0 Lake Shore Center, map 83, lot 85.
Second.
Thank you. A roll call vote. Marilyn?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
Myself, aye. And then do we have enough information that we would want to make a motion?
We should hire an expert.
But
You're
you cannot debate at this.
Can't do it now,
Mr.
Mark.
Pearson, you can't comment any further.
So Wendy, at this point, you know, we just closed it, the information's in, so I'm gonna make a motion to approve Zero Lakeshore Center, but I want to have major discussions on specials. Yeah, they're, you know, and I will make a motion for approval, and then we can discuss specials.
Second.
Was that a full motion?
Yep, there was a motion to approve Zero Lakeshore Center with specials that we can do in discussion, and you heard the second from Ms. Prisco.
Okay, thank you. And a roll call vote, Marilyn,
Aye.
Harry,
No.
Eileen,
Aye.
myself, aye. And you want to have discussion on specials?
Harry, can you state why you're stating no, though, just for the record on regulations, or?
You really want that?
Well, it needs to be based on the
Want it
regular.
in the record, honey, yes.
Way back when there was an agreement between the chair and Lakeshore Center that they wouldn't be interfering in any more wetlands. To me, this is interfering. I vote no.
I don't think that's a reg, but okay. So I would like to point some of my specials that I think are very, very important. And this is where we can shine as an ACEC area, because it is critical. Again, we don't have that buffers, that bylaw in place of 150 feet. And given the history with Claremont, again, I'm gonna make sure these special orders are to be adhered to strictly. I believe there should be on-site monitoring. You have outside peers at the Bridgewater Conservation is approved. Given any work in that 25-foot no-touch area with slopes and everything, my recommendation, my special is going to be that there is an outside person on site at all times watching the activity of the construction. I also am going by Mark Mangino suggesting that the monitoring plan of the water is, crucial before you start your construction. I also, and I would like to hear if there was any other, concerns from Mark Mangino on specials, but my concern again would be on-site monitoring, because right now, you presented, you've done what we asked, the rules and regulations are there. I want to make sure that culvert gets maintained and clear of any debris. I've been out there, I haven't seen any debris, but that doesn't mean that stuff can't get in the culvert. So the on-site monitoring, water quality, maintenance of culvert, and then open it up, to any additional member for specials. And we also have our peer review on that, might have an insight too to help us out. But those are the ones that are really zinging on me, and they will be held to a very high standard of reporting to our agent.
Right, and I think, so did you mention the culvert to be kept clean?
Yeah, I think it's important that the culvert be maintained. I think it's important, for the on-site monitoring, and I don't think the applicant, should have a problem with that. You want to make sure that this is getting done professionally and right in the ACEC area. And we as the commission really want to see on-site monitoring.
Right. And then the monitoring plan, including the pre-construction on water
monitoring,
water quality. Yep. And then during construction and post-construction.
Yep.
I'm just going over mine just to make sure. Yeah.
They don't have any, that's it.
And on-site monitoring during building up of like around the stream and the 25-foot buffer.
Well, when you're in this notice of intent, is to go into that buffer. So when they go in that buffer and construct anything, they need to have a third party licensed professional, we have 3 firms that they can do it from, to be there watching and monitoring that ACEC area is having the protection that it deserves. So, I don't have the authority to say 150 feet back. We don't have an bylaws, but we have the authority to say you have to have on-site monitoring. And I don't think, that's an issue. So if Eileen has anything, Harry sounds like he doesn't want to add stuff. And then I'd like to hear from Mark Mangino if he thought of anything else listening to this that we've just stated on conditions.
I think your condition about construction monitoring is absolutely necessary, and you can take that to a much higher level than you articulated. With these projects, problems occur when the developers come in and clear cut and grub the entire site as their first step in the activities. This is a big project footprint. So what I would recommend to maximize protection of the resource area during construction is that they submit to you before construction the SWIP, which shows how they're going to manage the site during construction, and that should involve a phasing plan for clearing the site, a construction phasing plan. And that should be reviewed by the commission or by the town
agent.
engineer.
Oh, yeah.
There's someone who has a high level of expertise in construction monitoring, and not everyone who's a conservation agent or a wetland scientist does. There has to be a high level of review to make sure they have temporary sediment basins, that a lot of thought was put into the SWIP.
And who is somebody that like would do that?
I is qualified to do that.
Who is?
Greg Tanzi, the town engineer.
Oh, Greg Tanzi.
Yep, and whoever you hire, it sounds like you're gonna hire a third party to provide construction monitoring services paid for by the applicant on behalf of the commission during construction. Whoever that individual is should have the expertise to review that as well, so that could be a combined review. And make sure that before a tree is cut down, that the SWIP is very well thought out.
I'm not familiar with SWIP. What does that stand for?
Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan.
Thank you.
So they need to file with the EPA under NIPDES, and that includes a SWIP plan, which is a very extensive document that describes how, and plans that describes how they're gonna manage the construction process.
Thank you. That's good information. Anything further, Mark, that you can think of as a AC area special condition?
The stream monitoring plan you already touched on. Maybe it's sort of automatic, but maybe you put a condition in there that says if there are any significant changes to the project scope of work or resource area classification as a result of the MEPA process, the applicant needs to come back to the commission for an amendment.
They put that in there, and anything with planning board also, we can put in any changes, they come back.
Yep.
Obviously, any changes, they need to come back. Thank you. Wendy, any thoughts on yours for
No.
Eileen?
Oh.
I'll be pretty happy with what Mark has added to your list.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So with that being said, then I made the motion to approve with the specials set forward, monitoring maintenance of culvert, water monitoring plan, on-site monitoring as stated, and they can go back and listen to the minutes with everything Mark said, a qualified construction person to maximize and make sure that the SWIFI is in place with the phases, and stream monitoring plan being submitted, and obviously any changes with MEPA, any planning board changes, any changes coming forth, that they come back to us. So that's my motion.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Marilyn?
Aye.
Harry?
Abstain.
Eileen?
Aye.
And myself, Wendy? Aye.
Madam Chair, I just note that an abstain is a no.
Yes. Okay, thank you, everybody. That's about all I can say is thank you
Thank you. It's been
for all the information and the input and the feedback and all of it.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Good night.
You're welcome.
Good night. Thank you.
So we need to move forward. We have next up we'll do the notice of intent for, this is under, should be under new business. Notice of intent for 0 Bedford Street, map 75, lot 57. The applicant representative is Grady Consulting LLC. The DEP file number is SE 116-1552. And I have to bring this up on my computer. So it has been asked to open and continue, but I need to read it into the record. So notice of public hearing, Conservation Commission, Bridgewater, Mass. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, in the town of Bridgewater Local Wetland Bylaw, the Bridgewater Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on November 14th, 2024 for a notice of intent. It says, or request for determination of applicability filed by 2024 Bedford Street Condo Trust. The applicant proposes to construct the construction of 2 buildings in a contractor's yard. The property is owned by 2024 Bedford Street Condo Trust and is located at 0 Bedford Street, next to 620 Bedford Street, assesses map 75, lot 57. Please contact the Bridgewater Conservation Office at 508-697-0950 for the time and location. A link to the virtual participation. All interested parties are encouraged to attend. Agenda can be found at www.bridgewaterma.org at least 48 hours prior to the meeting date. Abutters were notified, but at this point, they've asked that, I think they have to redo plans, so that it needs to be continued. So can I have a motion to continue 0 Bedford Street, map 75, lot 57?
I'll make a motion. You got that in writing, right, Wendy, that the continuance?
We do have it in writing.
All right, yep. So I will make a motion for notice of intent, 0 Bedford Street, map 75, lot 57 for continuance. And our next meeting to be
December 12th.
December 12th, yep.
Do we have a second for that?
Second.
Thank you, Mark. And a roll call vote. Marilyn?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
And myself, Wendy? Aye. Next up, we have a request for determination of applicability for 333 Water Street. Map 50, lot 83. Applicant representative is Michael Horton.
Madam Chair, I can explain this.
Yep, I have the legal notice. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Public notices, 333 Water Street, legal notice, notice of public hearing, Conservation Commission, Bridgewater, Mass. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, in the town of Bridgewater Local Wetland Bylaw, Bridgewater Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on November 14th, 2024 for a request for determination of applicability filed by Michael Horton. The applicant proposed removal of 20 trees at property. The property is owned by the Horton Family Trust and is located at 333 Water Street, map 50, lot 84. Please contact the Bridgewater Conservation Office at 508-697-0950 for the time and location or link for virtual participation. All interested parties are encouraged to attend. Agenda can be found at www.bridgewaterma.org at least 48 hours prior to the meeting date. Abutters were notified.
So there are several large trees adjacent to Mr. Horton's home that he is concerned that if one or all of them were to fall would cause considerable damage to his home. So he's proposing to top the trees, not do any disturbance to the ground or removing of the trunks of the trees. I believe that Member McDonald and the conservation agent Putt did conduct a site visit at the Horton property, which Ms. McDonald can speak to.
Yes, I went out with our conservation agent Putt, and we met with the homeowner, Michael Horton, and he brought us all around. There are very concerning trees that would do some damage to his home. So similar like we did on the Pleasant Drive, we're making a determination as to does he need to do a notice of intent and go hire an engineer, or can we do this through a determination? We can clearly do this through a determination for several reasons. he has no intent of doing any work within that buffer zone except for topping the trees. There'll be no, uprooting the trees, no fill being brought in. And the agent had to explain to him that the tree company who advised him to make sure that he talked to conservation first, she would meet them on site just to go over the trees and make sure that there is no uprooting or fill, but they're completely just taking the tops off for safety. So at this point, I clearly recommend a negative determination. It's a safety issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Any conservation members have any questions?
Not me.
Okay. Harry?
No, I know that area very well.
Okay. Mark?
What are they leaving for trees?
They're leaving the trees, they're just topping them.
Oh.
So if it falls, it's not the huge tree falling.
Do you like leave a snag, or are they dead trees, or?
No.
Some are dead, some are alive, but it would not be taking the tree out of the root of moving anything. Some are dead, some are alive. So they would just be taking the tops off.
Taking the tops, Mark. We're not gonna take out anything. No roots.
Okay, but I mean, could you leave some snags, like some habitat trees? Because it is in the right on the pond, right?
They're not going to touch any brush or anything. They're just going to take the heavy tops off that could do damage to the house.
Yeah, the ones closest. Okay, are there any abutters that are on that have any questions or concerns?
If so, I would say please use the raise your hand feature.
Thank you.
And I'm not seeing any, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Do we?
I would make a motion for chair to entertain a negative determination on 33 Water Street, map 50, lot 83.
Second.
Thank you. And a roll call vote, Marilyn?
Just under discussion on that, we will put on it that, what the homeowner is very, very abiding by anything. We talked with them just to make sure to contact conservation prior to the tree removals. And we can easily put that on the.
Or prior to their work?
Prior to their work.
Okay.
Yep. So,
Okay. Roll call.
Yes.
Roll call vote? Okay. Marilyn, yes?
Aye. Yep.
Eileen?
Aye.
Sorry. Mark?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
And myself, aye. All right, thank you. Next up, we have a notice of intent for 25 Stony Brook, map 118, lot 108. The applicant representative is Homestead Consulting Engineers, DP file numbers SE 116-1558. The legal ad reads 25 Stony Brook Drive, Bridgewater. Legal notice. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, in the Town of Bridgewater Local Wetland Bylaw, the Bridgewater Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on November 14th, 2024, for a notice of intent filed by Connor Hughes. The applicant proposes to construct an addition to the existing house and rework the existing septic system. The property is owned by James Hughes and is located at 25 Stony Brook Drive, assesses map 118, lot 108. Please contact the Bridgewater Conservation Office at 508-697-0950 for the time and location or link for virtual participation. All interested parties are encouraged to attend. Agenda can be found at www.bridgewaterma.org at least 48 hours prior to meeting date. Notice published in the Enterprise on 11/5/24. Abutters were notified. So first off, I want to apologize, or not apologize, but if you're on here, so Homestead Consulting Engineers, that you've had to wait such a while to be able to get on to the meeting. But
There's no extra charge for the wait.
Yeah, good one. So you're on. Who is on for Homestead Consulting?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Matt Collins with Homestead Consulting Engineering. We also have Josh Green, who is a professional engineer from our office as well. We will be representing Connor Hughes and the Hughes family for this project. As you mentioned, it's a on 25 Stony Brook Drive. It's a 1.1 acre lot. it is within a wetland that was delineated by Brad Holmes in June of 2024. There's a bordering vegetated wetland and a stormwater basin that were both flagged and provided in our plans. We did a survey in July of 2024, and it was determined that the single family dwelling right now is all within the 100-foot buffer. The applicant is looking to add an addition on the west side and on the east side of the dwelling. So on the west side behind it, they're looking to extend that raised deck over closer towards the wetland. We made sure to keep out of the 25-foot no touch. There's some slight grading that goes up to it, but we stayed outside of the 25-foot. There's also a septic leaching field that will be there's a new system that it has been designed. It's been approved by the Board of Health. It's on the east side of the existing leaching area, which is within the 100-foot buffer as well. So we will be abandoning the system closer to the wetland and putting in a new system to the east. And that's, we've also received comments from engineering and actually feedback that they had no comments. So we're in front of you to receive approval of the NOI for this.
Okay. Can you share your screen? I don't know if everybody
yeah.
can see the plans.
Yep.
I will say that we haven't, I looked at the plans and there's not an issue on your end, but these sometimes homeowners that are coming before us with pre-existing inside the 25-foot, and I don't know how that happened, but must have been a while ago.
They did receive a negative determination by Conservation Commission in 2013 for the pool that is actually in there now.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
But and just to zoom in here, so this is the existing dwelling. Actually, this is the wrong one. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I think I saw a proposed addition on both sides
Yes.
of the house. Yeah.
Sorry.
They decided to go bigger, I guess.
Yeah, so that's
we go.
the garage is right here, so they're looking to extend that garage out as well.
Mhm.
And on the west side, this is the addition that gets closer to that wetland area, but it is we made sure to keep it outside of that 25-foot no touch. And the deck is actually it's raised up, and we still made sure we kept that outside as well. And as I mentioned, the septic, we just received approval from Board of Health for that.
Okay. I mean, it looks straightforward. And what are the plans for erosion control and sediment?
Yep. So we are proposing erosion control to be installed and maintained throughout construction along the wetland, and also on the side here, to stay outside of the street on the side of the septic.
Okay. Conservation members, Marilyn?
Yep, so Wendy, again, like looking at the plans, the big thing that stuck out was the pool in the 25-foot. So a negative determination in 2013. So there's our answer right there. So I was not in 2013. So
I had the same concerns when I right when we did it. I kind of had one of those oh no moments. And
I hope they probably were advised to have a cartilage filter on it. So that was my stick out. Now, obviously, this line is not a valid line, so I will be going out to take a look at the line. Are the flags still there and everything?
Yes.
Could you just do me? Could you please stake the proposed addition of the deck closest to the wetlands, the one that's like 27.8, you know, like the corners of the deck to the wetlands, please. And then you can let our administration, Caitlin, know when that's staked, and that gives me the go out and take a look, or and any other member that would like to go on foot and take a look themselves too.
Yes, we can do that.
Great.
That's all I have on it.
Okay. Eileen, do you have anything?
No, I'm familiar with the property. I'm okay.
Okay.
Take a look.
Harry?
No, I was on when they did the pool.
Oh, okay. And Mark?
I got no questions at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, so I would say the same thing, just about someone going out, Marilyn, Harry with his little digger thing. To go look at the line.
I got a little bigger thing too.
No, oh, you have one too? Oh, yeah, okay. I have to buy one so I can be part of the club. So yeah, so that would be it. Are there any abutters on that have any questions or concerns?
Matt, if you could stop sharing your screen so then I can see meeting participants, please. So if there are any abutters or members of the public that would like to comment on this application, please use the raise your hand feature. Scrolling through. I'm not seeing any, Madam Chair.
Okay, great. So then we're gonna go out, someone will go out to do a site visit. So do we have a motion to continue to?
I'll make a motion to continue notice of intent 25 Stony Brook, map 118, lot 108, to December 12th.
Thank you. Excellent. And a roll call vote. Marilyn?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Okay, so Matt, we will see you back the 12th and just contact the office when you're all set with the staking of that. Okay,
Thank you for your time.
all right, thank you. Next up, so we have a request for determination of applicability. Is for 233 Broad Street, map 21, lot 156. And sorry that you had to wait so long for this. The applicant representative is McDonald's USA LLC, Bowler Engineering. I have a question for who's on for that. So I don't have a legal ad and I didn't see any abutters notified. And the plans,
I can address the abutters that the property is owned by Federal Realty Trust, and drawing the buffer line, they're their own abutter. So
oh, okay.
Yeah, we had sent out. Yeah, we had sent out. I'm Jared Walsh with representing Bowler Engineering, and we had sent out abutter notifications to the abutters directly across the street from the property. We had made that offset 100 feet, and like Bob said, their own abutter, so the overall property owner.
Okay.
Wendy, you don't have the ad to open it?
No, that's what I was just gonna say. I don't have an ad. Do you have an ad, Jared?
Yeah, we had run an ad on Thursday in the Enterprise that I had sent over to Kate. I think it's Caitlin.
Do you have it that you can read?
If you have it, you could read it. Do you have it?
Yep. Yeah, I can pull it up.
All right,
Sorry.
that'd be great. And I just want to add in that the plans say 222 as opposed to 233. So I think something needs to be adjusted one way or the other. I think it's 233.
yeah, you can't have an odd numbers and even numbers on the same side of the street.
All right, let's have them read the ad so we can officially open though.
Okay, all right.
For discussion.
Yep, let me dig that up. Okay, 233 Broad Street, Bridgewater, legal notice of public hearing, Conservation Commission, Bridgewater, Massachusetts. In accordance with the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Town of Bridgewater Local Wetland Bylaw, the Bridgewater Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on November 14th, 2024 for a request of determination of applicability filed by McDonald's USA LLC. The applicant proposes to modify the existing drive-through lane to add one additional service lane and install new associated drive-through menu board equipment. Minor modifications to the existing site inclusive of new sidewalks, accessible parking spaces, pavement striping, and relocation of the trash enclosure will also be made. Additionally, minor modifications to the interior dining room and exterior facade of the building will be made to meet McDonald's building design standards. The property is owned by FLV Campus Plaza Limited Partnership and is located at 233 Broad Street in the town of Bridgewater, map 21, parcel 156. Please contact the Bridgewater Conservation Office at 508-697-0950 for the time and location or link for virtual participation. Sorry. All interested parties are encouraged to attend. Agenda can be found at www.bridgewaterma.org at least 48 hours prior to the meeting date.
Excellent. Thank you. And do you by chance have a file number?
I was not given a file number by Caitlin.
Awesome.
DEP would issue the file number, so just so that you're aware, we can listen, but we can't vote without a DEP file number, Chair.
Okay, that sounds good.
What I thought. Okay. So you're up. If you want to share your screen and just share the plans, you can do that.
There we go. So this gives you a visual of the overall property owned by FLB Campus Plaza, and the McDonald's existing drive-through and restaurant are located outlined in red here, just to give you an aerial view of the overall area. This is an existing conditions plan. We had the mean annual high water line of the town river mapped out in April of this year, and these are the 100 and 200 foot riparian zones extending from that mean annual high water line. This is the existing restaurant with a drive-through service. There's a trash enclosure located on the left side of the screen here, and a drive aisle with parking located just left of the building in drive-through lane. This is the proposed plan. So the existing building itself is not changing in any way. The facade will be updated to meet McDonald's standards, and we'll be adding in new accessible sidewalks outside of the building footprint and new accessible parking spaces on the right side here. The drive-through lane will also be updated with some minor modifications to the drive-through island on the right side here. And then we will add in some new drive-through menu board items and a drive-through island with a new curb line on this side of the page. And where the existing trash enclosure was located will be modified to be located on the right side of the drive aisle to allow for that extra lane to increase efficiency within the drive-through lane for vehicles coming through for this service. And there'll be also some minor striping adjustments made as a part of this the site upgrades here. And this slide kind of gives you a visual representation of what existed previously in red and what is being proposed here, just to give you an idea of how the changes overlay on one another. So you can see the additional drive-through lane is added here, and that extent of that drive-through is expanded upon. As a part of the adjustments of the curb line and reconfiguring of site features, there'll be actually an increase of about 400 square feet of pervious area as a part of this adjustment to the layout, and no modifications beyond the existing pavement line, which is located off the page to the left within the 100-foot riparian zone will be made. All changes within the limit of work occur within the lease area in an area that's already disturbed within the riparian zone. So just to keep that brief, that's a high level summary, and I'll open up to questions at this time.
Great, thank you. Commission members? Anyone have any questions, concerns, thoughts?
The only concern I have at the moment is that, obviously we can't make a decision tonight with no DEP file number, but they do need to get, where there is a discrepancy on the plan, it needs to be 233. You do need to revise the plan and submit that so that when we do take a vote, Jared, it is on the appropriate plan. And I heard through the grapevine it comes with hotter French fries. I'm not sure, but no. I've been looking at it. I don't have any questions right now or thoughts, but thank you for your presentation.
Yep, and I can add that we received a conditional approval from the planning board as well in October. So we have a minor revision to the plan set that's before the planning staff right now for their approval, but we have that conditional approval as well.
Is it going to be anything that affects these plans here?
They wanted screening from the trash enclosure from the street, so that was added, some planting screening.
Okay, but nothing that affects the wetland.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Okay. All right. Yep. That's all I did. Just get the proper address in, and then we'll see you in the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Eileen, do you have any questions?
No,
Thoughts?
no, not yet, not yet.
Okay, Harry?
Fine.
No questions.
Thank you. Mark?
No.
Okay, thanks. And I don't either. I mean, other than, you know, what, well, I guess I do. So, it's just paving, so I'm sure that it's all maintained within, but the river is right on the other side of the. So how do they put something, they must put something in place so that no anything going off into the
Yeah.
fence?
Yep. Yeah, we'll
'Cause
show.
there is a fence.
Yeah, we'll show erosion controls at the limit of work line as well. That's included in our set.
Gotcha. Okay, that's all I had, and we don't have any abutters, so I don't need to ask. So, does everybody have enough information that we can, do we
You can
want to?
still ask anybody. Any public still has a right to weigh in.
Oh, does any public still have a right to weigh in? It's, oh boy, long time.
Any member
Need
of
to
the
eat
public would like
supper.
to comment on the application, if you could just use the raise the hand feature, or we're down to a manageable crowd, you can wave at me. I am not seeing any, Madam Chair.
Okay. So do we have enough information to close and then,
No,
continue,
you
or do
can't
we just
close.
want to continue?
Right.
Yeah, continue. I'm going to make a motion to continue request of applicability of 233 Broad Street, map 21, lot 156 to our next meeting, December 12th.
Second.
Thank you. And a roll call vote. Marilyn?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
And myself, Wendy? Aye. All right. Thank you, Jared.
Jared, have a great night.
We'll see you on
Thank
the
you.
12th. You're welcome.
Hopefully you guys wrap up soon.
I know.
Yeah.
We're
Thanks.
getting there.
Mom, my husband eating. I'm like, oh, I'm hungry.
Yeah, me too. This is the
I
longest
need to
one
go to
I've been
French
in.
fry.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
All right, you too. Okay, next up, we can go through these fairly quickly. Conservation Commission business administrative items. We have 3 certificates of compliance. So the first one, certificate of compliance, is for 365 Elm Street, map 58, lot 33. Applicant representative Freddie Ariola, Silva Engineering Associates, PC. Do I have a motion to approve, accept?
Does Bob have anything to weigh in? Because it's administration that looks at these to make sure they're in compliance.
Yeah, you're good to issue the certificate, have us issue the certificate of compliance.
Okay.
All right, then I would make a motion to offer certificate of compliance, 365 Elm Street, map 58, lot 33.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Marilyn?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
And myself, Wendy. Aye. Next up, okay, certificate of compliance, 100 Nolan Park, map 73, lot 34, applicant representative, Michael Jr., Silva Engineering, PC.
We're
Any,
okay with you issuing a certificate of compliance.
thank you, Marilyn?
To issue certificate of compliance, 100 Norland Park, map 73, lot 34.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, Marilyn?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
And myself, Wendy, aye. Last one, certificate of compliance, 900 Bedford Street, map 88, lot 133. Applicant representative is NPSSA Bridgewater LLC, Bola Engineering.
So my only question would be, who's going in there? But other than that, they've met the.
But other than that, yeah.
I'm like, duh. All right, then, motion to issue certificate of compliance, 900 Bedford Street, map 88, lot 133.
Second.
Thank you. And roll call vote, Marilyn?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
And myself, Wendy, aye. Yeah, it would be nice to get somebody in there.
The question we get asked every day.
Those buildings are popping up everywhere. Okay, so next up, we have Lake Shore cease and desist. So is that an administrative thing, Bob, that you will send out to them, or
Yeah.
Caitlin will send out to?
We'll have to discuss it, though.
They're gonna come before us for a certificate of non-compliance.
No, we have to discuss it as a commission first.
Right.
Oh.
What my suggestion is in order to extinguish the existing DEP number, that we issue a certificate of non-compliance and ask the applicant to file a new NOI. So you can take a look at it again and establish a new order of conditions.
So exactly. So Bob, I looked for reference on this with the state. Issue a notice of compliance or a new notice of intent. Obviously, we can't issue a notice of compliance to somebody that had been not in compliance. So spot on, we can issue a notice of not being in compliance, and then have them come in with a very fresh notice of intent to protect that NIP area on the side. Start with the we have time on that. Start with the new vegetative management plan. So I think that's, within everybody in the commission. I'm sorry, I'm getting like mumbly at this hour now. Is the best way to go forward with correcting that area. So.
Yep.
Mr. Brennan, did you want to?
No, I hung around just in case I was needed.
I was gonna say we should have tabled that, but it was a long.
That's all right. You can focus a little bit on this now. Yeah, that's fine. However, whatever we have to file with DEP to extinguish that first file number and then refile fresh, that procedure is fine.
Yeah, I think that's a cleaner.
Two open numbers.
You can't have two on one side.
Can't have two open
I
numbers.
tried that once. It didn't work very well.
And it will be specific to the maintenance plan, correct? That's all that it would be for, is the maintenance plan.
Right.
Okay.
Which they will follow.
Correct.
Okay, so we'll do that.
Yeah, you don't need to take a vote. I don't
You
think.
don't need to
Okay.
take a vote. It's we'll wait
Okay.
to see their notice of intent. But actually, you will prepare on the next meeting, Bob, a certificate for non-compliance that we will vote on.
Yeah.
Or Caitlin, because she's agent.
So
We can
that'll be
wor-
for
we can be
December
working on
12th.
we can be working on the NOI in the meantime.
Okay.
Yep.
And December 12th is the date.
Yeah, we will vote on that one.
Yep. Next up is the DOT
Thank
Lake
you. Good
Shore, the clearing and dumping discussion. It was brought up tonight and it's been brought up in the past. And I don't think that DOT realizes that maybe there is an intermittent stream, like in the area where they had wood chips before. And now, whatever bulldozer tracks have been made, whatever. I think that they need to be aware of it. So, I think, Bob, you said earlier that, like Caitlin.
I think,
the
I would
agent
recommend
letter-
that we ask the conservation agent to send a letter to DOT on behalf of the town, raising the concerns and making them aware of what the conditions are.
Yep. Okay, so that was my only thing. I mean, I think that they need to be made aware of it and they need to stop doing it.
Be nice if they
Yeah.
had a plant plan for that area too. It's filled with invasive plants.
Oh, yeah. That would be good, but I can't even think about that right now.
It's just, they can't be out clearing and illegally dumping is the issue right now, and it needs to go to the rightful people that are doing it, and that's the state.
Okay, next up, we have 0 Bedford, map 112, lot 9, the enforcement order. It's across from the skating rink. Marilyn, you want to talk about the clearing, cutting, dumping?
I can talk about it but Harry is here also on it.
Oh,
So
yeah, Harry was there too.
we got notice that there was a violation on that area of Bedford Street, which is kind of across the street from the skating rink. And it is a very wetland area. It's zone commercial, yes, but it is a wetland area. So we went there, and sure enough, it had been cleared about an acre or so. I mean, that's my best estimate. And also they were bringing in fill. When I got there, there was already fill that had been placed in 4 new stockpiles of fill. So the building inspector had already put a cease and desist on it. I went back out with Caitlin. We put a COMCOM cease and desist on it. And Harry was right down the street because we got called again that there was further activity going on after we put the cease and desist. So Harry went down. He was first on the scene. He told them to get, we had problems of who was the legit owner because it just went through the town auctioneer. It was taken for tax title. I'm trying to make a long story short here. It was taken for tax title. So the people that we were sending the notice to weren't getting it. And then it was found who was the rightful owner from that auction. So we sent that out. We also Harry talked to the guy who was a representative of Able Management, who is now the rightful owner. Harry got the boss on the phone and said, no more activity here. You need to come to the commission. And Harry, correct me if I'm phrasing you wrong, but you can discuss it also. And to stop. I later went down to, there was a representative there and said the same thing. Where has this bill come from? You have to come before conservation. You need permits in place. You just can't clear wetlands. So that's where we are now. He could not answer me where the fill came from. That's going to be tested. So that's the concern. It's a large area that they cleared. I did give Mass DEP a heads up on it where it was kind of like an acre. But we're hoping to keep this civilly at a local level and resolve this. So Harry, again, you were had part of this discussion. So anything you can add?
When I got down there was like a little mini dozer and a trailer, and there was loads of dirt, and he was moving the dirt. So I told him to put the dozer back on the trailer, and no more dirt was to come in. He gave me his phone, and on the other end of the phone was the owner. So I explained it to him. Later on that night, went back down there, and the owner was there. So I talked to him in person. I put up yellow caution tape from guardrail to guardrail. So they have to take the tape down if they do any more dumping. But we already told them no more trucks to come in. And I've been checking it every day, so.
But after you said that, there was one more load that came in, and
Right.
that's when he said, I don't know how that came in. I don't know who did it. We were told not to. I said, well, that's a problem, and it's a problem where you don't even know where the fill's coming from. So I think at that point they understood that it was a cease and desist from both the town inspector and the conservation. So to my knowledge, and we've been cruising by, police take notice also, there has been no further activity. And Harry literally told him he works, 50 yards down the line. So
Yep.
We've had good eyes on that. There has been no further activity since the last dumping.
I just want to make sure that, is there anybody in the meeting representing the property owner for this particular property?
Marilyn,
That's-
wasn't he supposed to be here?
I have no idea. Caitlin was out of office today. She did send the certified email out. So, I told him on site that, he needed to come forward to a meeting. So until they come forward, obviously the enforcement stays, everything stays. And if they don't show up at the next meeting, we'll have to take, harder action actually. But I was hoping they would, but to be fair, Caitlin's not here, so we
Yeah.
did the proper protocol of doing the certified email. We put the sign up also, so I don't know if she got a response back until she's back in office on Monday on that certification, if it came back. Bob, I don't know if you have knowledge of that.
I do not.
Yeah, and so we'll have to wait on Caitlin to see if that certified mail was answered.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right, any other questions on that?
Nope.
But it's a good violation, guys. I mean,
Oh, it's a big one. That thing is all wet in the front.
Yeah.
I don't know, this year we've been getting a lot of violations. It's a doozy.
Okay, next up, we have Murphy's Landing, conservation restriction.
Yep, so I believe Carmine is here. He is the owner. Murphy's Landing is a 40B project that is near completion or completed. Carmine, if you want to unmute yourself, or if you have counsel that wants to explain. what
Yes,
you're
I do
looking to
have counsel. Peter, I don't know if Peter's still on. Peter is my counsel.
I'm still here. Can you folks hear me and see me?
Yes. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So for the record, Peter Freeman, attorney from Moriarty, Beelen and Malloy, and I do represent Carmen. So the reason for the conservation restriction, which certainly is we believe, win-win for the project and for the town, the zoning board, I wasn't involved then, but a few years ago, the zoning board issued the comprehensive permit, 8 units, rental housing, and one of the conditions is to have a conservation restriction for about 2.31 acres along the Taunton River on the property. And that's happened now. We sent a draft to both Blythe Robinson, town manager's office, and your office. And there's a plan attached that shows where it is. And Carmen, in fact, has completed. And so to cross all the T's and dot all the I's on the permit so that he can get his certificates of occupancy, which is important for the residents to go in. We need to basically move forward this conservation restriction. So you folks actually don't need to sign it. The way it works, and this is all according to the state outlined plans and requirements and a lot of the legal term gobbledygook. It's very lengthy, but it has a lot of good protective language for the town. And the Wildlands Trust, I think I said, is going to be the holder and enforcer of this restriction. So really what we would like from you folks tonight, it's not you don't have to sign it, but there is a form that actually is called municipal certification, where the state does ask a conservation commission to make a vote or a finding that accepting this, not the town to accept it, but having this conservation restriction on record is a municipal benefit. And so I sent that form in to Caitlin, but Nicole, because I know that Caitlin was out. So I sent that in and basically took from the conservation restriction itself, which talks about the public benefits. Those would be the items that you would fill in, which not to go on longer. I know you've had a long night, but as described in the restriction itself, and as I propose that you put in the municipal certification of finding that this is in the public and municipal interest, it protects, the CR will protect wildlife habitat and biodiversity, enhances open space corridors, landscape connectivity and ecosystem integrity. It protects riparian corridors on a national wild and scenic river. It provides aquifer wellhead protection and will provide public access to the premises and the Taunton River. So I would simply ask you and conclude by asking you to, I guess it is a vote, but again, it's not to sign anything. It's not per se a decision, just a vote to recommend to the town manager and council that this be signed and that you would vote to sign when it's all together, the certification. You could really sign that at any time, but that's how it works. So if you have any questions, happy to answer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Freeman. So who would be monitoring all of that? The
Wildlands Trust.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
In legal terms, this is a good thing.
Say that again, Bob.
In legal terms, this is a good thing.
Sure, yeah. And then where is it located?
On Plymouth Street?
The address is 0 Plymouth Street and it goes along the river.
Okay, I'm not really, I was just trying to picture like where it was.
Yeah, Bridgewater feeding grade.
Oh, okay, I know right where it is.
On the left side, going down.
Yep, it's big gray, I think, gray or tan.
Did you say, excuse me,
Go
jumping
ahead.
in and out, did you say that that was being deeded to the town?
No, the
No,
conservation easement is going to be held by Wildlands Trust.
Okay. Okay, so how, does anybody have any questions? Conservation, anybody have any questions?
I do. I don't
Go
know.
ahead.
Can you hear me, Wendy?
I can, yeah.
My internet is coming in and out. Is that land being deeded back to the town?
No, it's a
No.
conservation restriction.
Okay, so it's just a restriction, so the deeds will be restricted on the units?
Well, it's on the premises, it's on the land. The units are far away from the protected land. It's 2.31 acres that'll remain open.
Right.
So, but, you know, and because, you know, this is a rental project, so there's not individual condo owners that, you know, would also be restricted. It's the property itself owned by Carmen's company and any subsequent owner, of course.
Yeah, the restriction will run with the land, Eileen.
Okay. I just didn't know if it was rentals. I mean, I did hear, my internet's floating in and out, so I couldn't hear everything he said. So I wasn't sure if there were condos that were being singly deeded. So obviously, if they're rental, they won't be.
Even if that was the case, as part of the condo documents, that restriction would live.
Yes, I
And each
know.
of those units would have that as part of their deed.
Yeah, that was my question.
Okay. Mark or Harry, do you have any questions?
No, I work with Wildlands Trust quite often, so he's at the meeting right now that I'm supposed to be at.
Oh, yes.
Double book.
I trust Wildlands Trust. Marilyn?
I don't have any issues. It's a good thing. So
So what do you need? How do we vote? What do we?
I would just suggest, Madam Chairman, that you ask for a motion to recommend to the town manager that the conservation restriction be signed by the town and that you find that enacting or accepting the conservation restriction, no, I shouldn't say accepting, by approving the conservation restriction, it's a municipal benefit, a public benefit.
And that you'll sign the certificate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, someone want to make that?
I'll
Marilyn?
make that motion that he just suggested.
Okay.
I second it.
Okay, we like that. So roll call vote, Harry,
Aye.
Marilyn,
Aye.
Eileen,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
and myself, Wendy, aye. Excellent. Okay, thank you. Good luck, Carmen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Welcome.
All right. Take care.
Last up, Zero State Prison Road, Rainbow's End discussion. Marilyn and I were both out there today. They had an issue prior, right, with like going in the way they originally were. They didn't want to mess up soccer field access or whatever. There was a problem with maybe a 90-degree turn and they were looking to come in off of Flag Street. They can't really come in off of Flag Street because there's some kind of what is it with the
You're going-
water? There's no water there right now, but it looks like there could be a river.
Yeah, but that's the wetlands that we did the notice of intent, I mean, the order of conditions on for that. So it would have to be modified and as you saw, it's a slope down, it's a hill.
Yeah, it would have to be
Is there any
filled.
here from the state on it, folks? Anybody from the state that's here on Zero?
I don't see anybody.
So last talking with Caitlin, Wendy, the issue was how would the trucks get in there? And my suggestion would be there's what they call construction mats that you can put down. It's temporary construction mats that a truck can go over, it protects the wetlands. But the issue that you saw when we go out there is you can't really put it through the wetlands. The issue was they didn't want to tear up the town soccer field But my suggestion is that they put the track markets down on the soccer field, protect that it's a better access to get in with the truck. They don't have to worry about a degree. They actually won't be going into that because that'll be excavated out, then dozed and stockpiled. And my suggestion would be 10-wheelers only. You don't want to get tractor trailers going in there. You want 10-wheelers only. So that was my brain process of trying to figure out what the access is. Otherwise, they're going to have to file a new notice of intent if they want to go through with them.
And I had thought that they could, if they backed in and backed up over the mats along the side of the soccer field, they would be able to back right in and get the trucks filled and be able to pull right out, as opposed to trying to drive in straight and then having to back out and whatever.
I would suggest that we have Caitlin contact the state and have a site visit, just so everyone sees.
Yeah, what we're talking about.
Yeah.
The state did contact Caitlin. So Caitlin called me the day that the Mass DEP rep was in the office on this. So the state has been contacted on it. So, you know, this is something that the commission should go out there and take a look at, and we can talk about it again on the next thing.
Yeah, and I think they need to be there too, so
Right.
that we can all be like on the same page instead of trying to visualize like.
And I mean, there's rental, I know the state watches it, but there's rental companies for that, things like that. So, that was my suggestion.
Yeah. All right. So why don't we do that then? Ask Caitlin to contact them again and see if we can pull together a day where we can, you know, however many people want to go out can go out, and we'll post if we need to.
Yep.
Okay. Great. Last up, minutes. Did we have minutes?
I didn't even, honestly, I didn't look at the.
I didn't either. I was just thinking of that and I was gonna look to see.
Does anybody know if they are? If they are,
So if they are and we didn't see them, then we can't vote on them. We'll just, we'll do it the next time. She'll have to put them back on if she did.
I got a question about minutes. Is it a problem that we don't have minutes since June?
I don't think so, but we need to get them done just so that they're done. I mean, the appropriate thing to do would, you know, every couple meetings, we should have meetings from the past.
I think that now that we have a full-time agent, that she's making an effort to get caught up on the minutes.
Yeah.
But to be fair, they shouldn't be out as long as they are.
And I can't even find minutes back until January. I mean, I have them, but if I was a member of the public, I wouldn't be able to find them.
I don't know.
that was, I mean, staffing is out of our control. We're volunteers, but we routinely like to keep our minutes up. I'm so happy we have a conservation agent in place now. So, let's hope we
And
can.
I think she's having to listen to and listen to all of the meetings and
to all
get
the-
caught up, so.
Isn't there some laws that we have to actually follow?
I don't know that answer.
Let's check it.
Yeah, it's an admin thing. I don't know. I
But
mean,
hopefully we'll get on top, we'll get there and we'll get on top of it and stay on top of it.
it's,
And with that, if everybody's good,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
thank you.
Second.
The second. Nobody, everybody's asleep.
I know, it's been a long night. I'm hungry. Thank
Yep. All right. Listen, I'm gonna go. 3 hours. This is the longest meeting that I've ever been on with conservation.
Yep.
The longest.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Bob, for stepping in, being here.
Uh-huh.
Appreciate it.
Go
Bye.
to Bridgewater.
All right.